Thomas Massey counters a Fox reporter by calling him gay. That's funny. What? Voyeuristic Fox reporter Nicholas Ballsy. Unsure and uneasy when questioned about alleged gay porn watching habit. Wait, what?
Ask you.
He knows his bird doggers personally. He knows the porn consumption habits of his bird doggers. That's wild.
I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
Congressman, I'm not. I just want to give you a chance. Your
I'm
side.
Giving you a
of it.
chance to give me your side.
I'm not going to get into
Are
that.
you a real news organization or not? No, come back.
What the fuck? Wait, what? He couldn't even answer. Bro, he's running away. Wait, what? Bro, if you don't consume gay porn, just say no. What the hell? I've never seen that before. I've never seen that happen before. What the hell? He just reverse bird dogged him. He said, reverse uno, bitch. Motherfucker was speechless. I mean, honestly, wouldn't you be? If you're literally fucking bird dogging a congressperson and you're like, oh, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And the congressperson turns around, knows your name, and literally knows your porn habits. Yeah, that would brick anybody. That would brick anyone. Anyone and everyone would be like, wait, what? Why do you know that? He just hit tactical homophobia. Hell yeah. I mean, it's, first of all, for Thomas Massey, I don't think it's like tactical deployment of homophobia. I would assume that he's probably homophobic. You know what I mean? It's not like Thomas Massey was doing that to be like, well, there ain't nothing wrong with it. But also at the same time, it's like, you might be in the closet, my friend, and you could come and be more comfortable with your identity. I think for him, it's just homophobia, right? Yeah, it's a standard deployment. I don't think it's like a tactical one. Yeah, but that is kind of wild. I've never seen that. I've never seen that play out. The last time I saw someone deploy information on their bird doggers and destroy them was when Elisa Slotkin, CIA's very own, knew the dog's name, knew her bird dogger's dog's name, who had recently passed away, I think. That was fucking insane. Where she literally turned around and did the CIA move and was like, hey, I'm really sorry, your dog passed away last week. You know, something like that. And I was just like, that's the most insane. This person is CIA still. Like, you could never stop being CIA. When you're CIA once, you're CIA for life.
Anything you could say.
So let me ask you. I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
Congressman, I'm not. I just want to give you a chance. Your
I'm
side.
giving you
of
a
it. That's
chance to
not-
give
no,
me
I'm
your
not,
side.
I'm not going to get into
Are
that.
you a real news organization or not?
Get into that.
No, come back, man. All you got to say is you don't like it,
Congressman,
that you haven't been to those websites.
Of course,
All right.
Of course, I don't like it.
Really?
But thank you.
That's not what I heard.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he's running away. Oh my God, he's running away with his head hanging in shame. Buddy, this is the equivalent of an admission. This is worse than an admission. At that point, you should have been like, yeah, I crank it to fucking gay porn. What of it, dude? You should just say that at that point. You should own it. Just running away with your head tucked in, going, I don't like it. I do it, but I don't like it. Makes it so much worse.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, that was my. Just giving you a chance to respond. That's all.
And you're with
But
Fox?
thank you.
Is that a real news organization?
Yep.
Is this what you do for a living, man?
Congressman, we're good. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh, I've never, bro, what is happening, bro? And then he posted the full video, Nicholas Ballsy.
Who are you with?
With Fox Digital.
It's all false.
And what she said about you and Boebert having an intimate relationship,
It's all false.
why do you think she's out there saying it? Was it because of the primary, ahead of the primary? What do you think is motivating it?
When did you all become a tabloid? Seriously, dude.
Well, no, I just thought I would give you a chance to respond because you've never been able to tell your side of the story. That's all. But anything you could say.
So let me ask you. I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
Oh my God, he went ultra instinct. Bro, ain't no way. No. Bro, this makes it worse. Dog, why did you post this video, man? You posted this on your own? Dude, this is even better from the other angle. What the fuck?
To tell your side of the story. That's all. But anything you could say.
So
Look at his face. Look at his face. He goes, okay. Is he just sitting there Googling this guy's name or something? He's like, what outlet are you with?
let me ask you. I heard that you like gay porn. Is that true?
I just want to give you a chance, your
I'm
side of
giving you
it.
a
That's
chance to give
I'm
me
not.
your
I'm not
side.
going to get into
Are
that.
you a real news
I'm not
organization?
going to get into that.
Oh, no.
No.
You don't like
Congressman.
Oh, my God. He's running away. Oh, my God. Dude. This is beast mode. I have to tactically deploy a like on this, okay? I don't know if this is tactical homophobia or straight line homophobia and it's Pride Month, but like, I've never seen something like this. I've never seen someone so thoroughly defeated. Like, that is crazy, bro. That is, yeah, that's beast mode, I'm afraid. 100%. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you say to that? What do you do? I've never seen someone get so thoroughly defeated and run away like this. That's not pride, brother. That's shame. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, what he should have done is, yeah, I suck dick. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? Like, that's what he should have done. He should have been like, I suck dick. There's nothing wrong with that. What about Lauren Boebert or whatever? Does she, suck yours? And just like lean into it, right? Because like at that point, when you turn around and you tuck your tail and you start running, I mean, you set back gay rights. You set gay rights back, dude. You rolled the clock back. You know what I mean? You roll the clock way the fuck back with that one. Just stand 10 toes down and be like, yeah, I love penis, man. Whatever. I'm a fucking journalist. Why are you asking me that? What? You want a little piece? Is that what you want? You want to break off a piece of this? You know what I mean? Like, you have to fight fire with fire. It's like the escalation ladder, okay? Robert A. Pape was wrong, okay? You go up the escalation ladder, your opposition goes up the escalation ladder, you got to carry that ladder up. You got to climb up that ladder real quick. You'll be like, yeah, I suck dick, and I love it. I'm smoking on penises, big dog. What's up? You serving some? Is the buffet open? Give it to me. That kind of thing. Because it's over. Anything you do in terms of running away, at that point, anything that you do as far as running away and being like, yes, I'm shameful. I am ashamed. I am ashamed of the gay pornography consumption that I have is over. You are such a fucking idiot, Lel. Yeah, no homo. We smoking penises, big dog. You serving a little bit of that flank steak? Yum. That's what he should have done. Because running away like this answers his question, and it's like humiliating too. He's like, you're taking this all wrong. Thomas is just showing him an example of an invasive question. You sound a little nuts. I mean, I'm having fun. Yeah, or the Gaga defense. So what if I do? Yeah, what can you do to that? Because now everybody knows you're gay. And worse, because there's nothing wrong with gay, everybody knows you're ashamed of being gay. That's actually the unacceptable element here. You know what I mean? Ball's in your court and you fucking fumbled it, man. You fumbled harder than Barry Keegan fumbled Sabrina Carpenter. It's Sunday. It's Meet the Press. Yeah. Anyway, it's still Pride Month too. I know. It's shame month for Nicholas A. Balazi. It's a month of shame for Big Dog. Also, Matt Bernstein posted this, but our boy Curtis Sliwa, the only acceptable Republican candidate for any race, on a iHeartRadio gay pride float, dude. He's got the People's Mayor jacket on. That's amazing. I mean, he's right, though. He's right. Zoran better fucking recognize, okay? His time as mayor is limited. Next race comes up, we're all voting for Curtis Sliwa, the real socialist. None of this revisionist bullshit. None of this democratic socialism nonsense. Donnie is after you. Maybe don't post meat with DSA next time. I'm aware the images recently shared on X by the controversial online personality and streamer Hassan Piker. The Democratic Socialists of America have played an important role in electing deeply committed progressive leaders across the country. We should all reject conduct that reflects poorly on our movement and undermines the values we stand for. I will be working closely with Police Commissioner Tisch to ensure that those responsible are held accountable and that incidents like this are not repeated. To reinforce that public spaces should remain welcoming and respectful for everyone, my administration will institute a month-long ban on the public display on underwear. This kind of conduct has no place in our city. Yeah, of course. Gotta be fake. Yeah, of course it's fake. Yeah, of course he posted this. He doesn't want anyone to show meat. He only wants suits. That's why. He's like, if you're gonna show meat, you have to be wearing a suit. Don't know how you'll get that across. We need to elect more insane people in the office. Sure, why not? Yeah, I got banned from New York. Zoran did this today. Yeah, look at that sweet Sharia law being implemented in New York. Woke Sharia, of course. Bro, New York literally looks like a different planet. And like, even when I'm in it, it doesn't make sense. It just literally lives and exists on its own timeline. Like, there's bubbles. People are so joyful. Everyone's having fun. The fuck's going on, man? Actually, what's going on? It feels like it's from a separate, it feels like it's, you know, we got America A, we got America B. This is like America Z, okay? It's a different America. Functioning government. People have confidence that their government will take care of their problems. 311, you call them, they answer now. This shit's ass, bro. I'm jealous. I'm jelly beans. I'm peanut butter and jealous, okay? It's peanut butter jealous time. Straight up, I'll say it. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Fuck it, why not? Anyway, speaking of which, our boy Jacob Soboroff, okay, the handsome Jacob Soboroff himself, he has his own show now called Connect with Jacob Soboroff on MS Now. And yeah, Jacob interviewed our girl Maylok Kiros, who, of course, we're boosting right now. Let's get started there. He just interviewed KC Tenants founder Tara Raghuveer on his show. Yeah, Jacob is the man. He's actually, as you guys know, he's the man. I'm a big defender of Jacob and have been.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jacob Soboroff. It is Sunday, June 28th, and you are watching Connect. You know my happy place is an election day, and we are once again just days away from another important primary election here in America. Voters will head to the polls in Colorado to vote in primaries for the governorship and the House and the Senate and other state races. And after the progressive sweep in New York City on Tuesday, one House race just got really, really interesting. In New York, 3 candidates backed by Democratic Socialist Mayor Zoran Mamdani won their primaries, knocking out 2 incumbent Democrats in a powerful show of force against the establishment. And to centrist Democrats, these wins are not just any Democratic wins. They're a warning sign that the playbook that they have been running on might not be what their voters want anymore. Progressives are on a hot streak, and Donald Trump is already running with it. He is doing what he does best. He's putting his own spin on the messaging and slinging around familiar insults.
They're communists. They're not social democrats. They want to completely.
Dude, Donald Trump knowing the distinction between social democrats and democratic socialists would be so funny. I don't think he knows. I think he accidentally said they're not social democrats because he was trying to say democratic socialists. I don't think he knows what the distinction is at all.
Destroy the traditional American way of life. Communism is very easy to sell.
He's an ultra? No, dude, he's a tanky. He is JD Pondon. He is JD Pondon, bro. He's like, the Trots abandoned us. And at some point, even the USSR abandoned the righteous path of Marxist-Leninism. A synthesis of Marxism and Leninism put into practice by the great man, Joseph Stalin. To engage with this revisionism was Maoist China. And now, under my leadership, America is back on track, folks. That's right. Enver Hoxha, Mao Zedong, Donald John Trump, the three anti-revisionist Marxist-Leninists, and Tito. You think Tito? Of course Tito was not the fucking leader. Look, I love Tito, but he was also the leader of the what is it called? The uncommitted. Tito was the uncommitted movement. Tito was the original uncommitted movement, the non-aligned movement. Sorry. The non-aligned movement, which was also that time frame's version of being uncommitted. Tito was like, I'm not voting for the Democratic Party, and I'm not voting for the Republican Party. Yeah, he said no labels, no labels, communism. Anyway, yeah.
It destroys everything, but it's very easy. I'll be honest, I think I'd be the greatest communist in history.
Yeah, see, he's saying it. Yeah, you guys don't understand because you're used to all this like, oh, let's feed all of this revolutionary potential back into the fucking bourgeois party and the two-party system. Like, Donald John Trump is charting a separate path forward, one that truly abolishes class, one that truly destroys the imperialist superpowers around the world by force. What have you done to destroy American imperialism? Donald Trump works tirelessly every day to destroy American empire. And you're over here refusing to recognize that he is a true revolutionary. Okay? He's right. He said, I'd be the greatest communist. He's right. When he's right, he's right. It's the truth. JD Pondon, baby. Took out USAID. Destroyed American force projection capabilities, revealed that the United States of America is a paper tiger to the rest of the planet with his spectacular flub. And now he's eating the fattest of L's against Iran, giving Iran everything they wanted, even though currently the war is back on the menu. He wanted to go back to war with Iran to really solidify that America doesn't have this smoke. Okay? He has ushered in the century of Chinese prosperity. I'm just saying it's true. A lot of us didn't understand that MAGA communism was real. It was here. A lot of us joked and said, oh, you're a government agent. Seems like you're a federal agent or something, the way you're posting. What do you mean MAGA communism? It turns out it was the one true way to usher in an era of worker-controlled democracy. Okay? Yeah. Guess what? Yeah. What's the color of MAGA? Red. What's the color of socialism and communism? red. Think. Someone said Hassan Piker should not be trusted. Okay, man.
Okay. Well, let me get this straight. Communists are bad and will destroy America, but he would be the greatest communist in history. Cool.
Yeah, Jacob's liberal mind cannot comprehend that Donald Trump is a true revolutionary thinker. He has read the theory and now he's engaging in the praxis. Okay? He's read the theory. What's the color of Nazism? Red? No, it's not. What? No, color of Nazism is black. I mean, I guess red a little bit, but I feel like the color associated closely with Nazism wouldn't be red. It would be, it's red is for socialism. Brown is black or brown. Bro, you say that as a joke, but Trump did usher in an age of China prosperity and precedent for Mamdani. I mean, I happen to believe that there is no such thing as a spontaneous revolution, and that revolutionaries must always organize and take advantage of the evolving material conditions. This was an opportunity for sure, but that does not mean we are opportunists. Zohran Mamdani was an assembly member before he was the mayor. Zohran Mamdani was in the Democratic Socialists of America as a cadre member. Do you understand? Like, if we're being serious about this for a second, I'm joking about the, Trump stuff, obviously, but if we're going to be talking seriously about it, revolution is not spontaneous. It doesn't happen like that. It can only be brought about through diligent organizing, through education, through political education, through fomenting class consciousness, and funneling people into political organizations that can actually make an impact in moments where it matters most. And the Democratic Socialists of America are doing that in some way. Revolution isn't electoral, man. It's not, but it doesn't matter. Yo, I just hopped on and I'm in Iran. Is the war really back on? My exams might get canceled. Less revolution and more like new management for the Dems. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, they fail to recognize what the DSA is doing. They fail to recognize what the goals are here. So they think this is like unproductive, but they don't have any alternative to what is productive. Okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Anyway, let me state the obvious. Those progressive candidates won in deep blue New York City, so it is not exactly a full referendum on the midterms in November. And moderate Democrats have been doing well in races far more likely to decide control of Congress. But we cannot ignore that Tuesday's primaries were an undeniable sign that Americans are tired of the status quo. And this is bigger than one city or one mayor. Progressive candidates are hoping to ride this wave in races all across.
Yeah, DSA's work gets reduced only to electoralism because you aren't organizing with them. They do a lot of other shit like EWOC and tenant organizing in most chapters. Exactly. And a lot of that still feeds back into the electoral route because electoralism also opens up like new pathways. And a lot of people discount all the other work that the DSA does in its local chapters. But, it's just most of the people that complain about this stuff, they actually have no alternatives either. They just have no solution. They just want to chirp. It's much easier to chirp than it is to actually, dial in and do the work.
An American.
Ta-Nehisi Coates also had a convo about Chevalier, but before we do that, let's talk about Melot Kiros.
The nation. Take Abdul El Sayed, for example. He is a progressive former public health official endorsed by Bernie Sanders, running for a competitive seat in Michigan to replace retiring Democratic Senator Gary Peters. He told Politico this: "It's happening in New York. It is happening in Michigan. I think we are seeing it happen across the country now. Folks are sick and tired of being sick and tired." Or take a look at what's going on with
Contra said it years ago. They don't want power. They want to endlessly critique power. Buddy, I don't know how to break it to you, but that's what ContraPoints has been doing herself for like the last couple of years. Okay. It's ironic because that's what she's been doing to people like myself. That's what she's been doing to people who are actually you know, actively taking the initiative, taking matters in their own hands. So it is quite funny. Oh yeah, this clip went super viral. It went semi-viral on, I think it went semi-viral on Twitter, but it went super viral on TikTok as well. But anyway, let's do this first.
Francesca Hong, a candidate running on the Democratic Socialists of America campaign and playbook, is looking to win the governor's seat there. She is gaining traction in the polls and says it is time Wisconsin and Democrats tried something new.
I was at the Democratic convention this past weekend, and I got asked over and over again about, we love your campaign, we love what you stand for, your policies are amazing, it's so thorough, but can you win? I wouldn't be running if I didn't think we could win.
Nice.
And this all brings us back to Colorado and the race to watch on Tuesday. Maila Quiros is a 29-year-old Democratic socialist giving incumbent Congresswoman Diana DeGette her biggest primary challenge in nearly 30 years. Quiros is an Ethiopian immigrant, an attorney, a barista, and a PhD student. And Maila Quiros joins me now. She is running in the Democratic primary for Colorado's 1st Congressional District. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jacob.
How are you feeling? What stands between you and victory on Tuesday?
Right now, we're feeling fantastic. We're seeing millions of dollars being poured in by corporate PACs and super PACs and anonymous super PACs with dark money. But we know for a fact that we are going to be able to beat all of those dollars because we have thousands of volunteers knocking on doors all across the city, talking to our neighbors about the values we care about, the policies that we want to see, and the world that we want to live in.
I've been watching the race relatively closely and digging in over the last couple of days, and you are running the strongest challenge to Diana DeGette in 30 years. Why do you think you, someone with no political experience, at least in the vein that she has, is resonating with people?
I think candidates have a responsibility to meet voters where they're at, and that's what we started with this.
We are burning here in Poland. Do you still hate Polish people? I love Polish people, man. Please stop. What the hell is this? The heat waves, huh? Is that what's cooking the Polish people?
Campaign over 11 months ago in bookstores and coffee shops and bars and restaurants, meeting voters where they're at, talking about the concerns that they have, not only about our government, but the state of our country right now and how we are actually going to move forward and what kind of policies we need to get that done. And in Denver, we are a city that is extremely progressive, extremely young. We've passed things like universal pre-K, like term limits, like publicly financed elections. Our campaign is the only campaign in this race with every single one of those issues on our platform. We're resonating with the voters because we're fighting for the things that they care about.
The acrimony in this election has sort of turned up, and progressive leaders in your state are criticizing you, declining to call the deadly firebombing attack last year on a Jewish community rally in Boulder anti-Semitic, and you've also been criticized over your comments tied to October 7th. Views over Israel seem like a common line of attack between Democratic Socialists and mainstream Democrats in all of these primary elections. But what's your response to members of your own party, especially the progressive Democrats in your state who are criticizing you?
You know, I think what happened in the Boulder firebombing was a horrific attack on a group of Jewish people that were peacefully protesting. It has made many Jewish people in our city, in our states, and in our entire country feeling extremely unsafe. And that's why I think it's incredibly important that we distinguish between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, because our responsibility is to protecting our neighbors, protecting our Jewish brothers and sisters in this city. That is my commitment to combating any hate that comes their way, while also making sure that we are not using our taxpayer dollars to fund endless wars and genocide abroad, protecting babies here and protecting babies abroad.
I wonder how you would characterize Diana DeGette's campaign against you, because 48 hours before you and...
Yeah, the reason why it's important that you phone bank, by the way, I briefly mentioned this, but a lot of people that have been phone banking have found out that, like, a lot of the boomers in Denver unironically bit the propaganda hook, line, and sinker and think that, like, Maila Quiros is a vicious anti-Semite. And it's interesting because they don't even think she's a vicious anti-Semite because of her affiliations with me. They think she's a vicious anti-Semite on her own. Okay? Because Diana DeGette has been running this insane smear campaign. This unbelievable smear campaign where she's like using crazy right-wing blogs like Colorado Polls and shit like that. There's a lot of PAC ads that are coming in. It's actually worked to a certain degree. So it's pertinent on us to make sure we combat that misinformation, make sure we combat that wave of attack ads. And a lot of you have been phone banking. The phone banks are still going on. You can canvas as well. Okay. Diana DeGette is straight up doing Trump level xenophobia. Oh, wait, Jacob Soboroff is about to mention me here. That's funny. Diana DeGette is running on Trump level xenophobia. Her attack ads claim Maylot Kuros isn't from Denver, but Maylot has lived here since she was 11 months old. Like Maylot, Diana was born abroad, yet she positions herself as Colorado raised while Maylot is cast as an outsider. Wait, Diana was born abroad? Diana DeGette was born abroad too? We all see what's happening, and more Democrats need to condemn this. The ad also parrots a misleading attack leveled by DeGette's campaign that Kuros recently moved to Denver. Kuros' family moved to Denver when she was 11 months old. She grew up in the area before leaving to attend college. She returned to Colorado after being fired from a law firm. Oh, she was born in Japan? Oro? Nani? Wakarimashita! Diana DeGette-sama! Tochigawa, Tokyo Prefecture. Nippon desu. She was born in Nippon desu? Oro! Omae wa ma shinderu. Diana-sama! Wakarimashita! What the fuck are you doing, bro? What do you mean? Sorry, Japan mentioned. They're going to run this as an ad, lol. Yeah, they're going to be like, this guy, what? This guy doesn't this guy knows Japanese? Is that what they're going to say in the ad? Hassan Piker, Democratic Socialist, speaks perfect Japanese, shocks the world? Is that what they're going to say? They're going to say, Hassan Piker, radical, secret Japanese, trying to infiltrate the American political movement. Anyway, you actually hit that shit pretty well. Thank you. Yeah. Hasanabi-san. Are you power clashing with the... What is the response to people like this? I do fear woke 1.0 type perfectionism coming to the socialist movement. Do these people exist in real life? What is this? AOC's backing Jeffries for speaker. She's as vile as Harris. I don't agree that she's as vile as Harris. I think that's crazy. But I do think that she is far more careful than what this moment requires. That's what I think. I think AOC plays it maybe too safe. Zoran said the same thing too, and that's my criticism of Zoran as well. But then I'm gonna be honest with you. With Zoran, at least, like, we've seen the immediate return on investment. So every time I fucking every time I'm critical of Zoran, I mean, there are still certain criticisms of Zoran that I have that I think are valid, even to this day. You know, Jessica Tisch being one, SRG being another one. Stuff like that is still hanging a somewhat of a shadow on his otherwise unbelievably positive governance, right? However, every other decision that he's made that is pragmatic, that is politics, I have been critical of every step of the way, and then it turns out he was right. I've mentioned this already with the whole, like, don't run against Hakeem Jeffries meta. I was very critical of that. Bro, tase your dog some more. You got it. You got it. Anyway, not my Carla. So I think, like, maybe being a little bit more ambiguous with your support or lack of support for Jeffrey is probably good, because he's one of the biggest pro-Israel he's one of the biggest Israel stooges in Congress right now. You know what I mean? I find that unconscionable. I mean, he's been a bad leader of the party. I don't think that's a secret, right? He's nationally unpopular. I think The problem with a lot of New York politicians in that regard is that he's popular in New York and he commands a lot of power because he's the most powerful Democrat in the country. So they play it far too safe with Hakeem Jeffries. And I don't think that's appropriate. But then again, I've been wrong. So who knows how this plays out? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I vaporized Carla. Kaya! Come here. Come here. Kaya, come. Good girly. Good girly. Place. Look at that. See that? Vaporized. Destroyed. I kind of think it's low-key good for the left to have a charismaless void as a leader. Oh, you mean for the Democrats? Yeah. I don't agree. Anyway, because he is vindictive. But we shall see. We shall see. Maybe I'm wrong.
And live streamer Hassan Piker was supposed to hold an event at the Ogden Theater, I think it was. The venue canceled the event. This was a couple of weeks ago due to pressure and concern from the local community, reports said. And the rally was moved to the Capitol steps. I saw this crowd. It was enormous. Tell me that story. What was behind that whole situation?
You know, we had several venues cancel on us the week leading up to the rally that we were going to be having, not only with Hassan Piker, but with several other candidates, including Justin Pearson and Donovan McKinney, my fellow Justice Democrats, where we were going to be talking about what we were going to need to do to not only change our party, but to fight for a kind of politics that really meaningfully helps working families and uplifts them. We saw several of those venues cancel on us at the very last minute. And, you know, while they can cancel and take us out of the buildings that we were holding in these rallies, they can't stop us from building this movement. So we took it to the People's House, we took it to the Capitol steps, and we gathered hundreds, almost over 1,000 Denver voters that wanted to hear our message and stood strong with us.
Denver is not New York, but I wonder if you have taken any lessons from watching Zohran Mamdani's slate of progressive Democrats win on last Tuesday.
Denver is not New York, but Denver actually rates socialism higher than we rate capitalism by 4 points. And, you know, when I talk to voters about what we're doing and why I'm a democratic socialist, I remind them that we have socialism already, right? It's in the roads that we drive on. It's in the schools we send our kids to. It's in the fire stations we call upon. I'm just asking that we extend that security to our healthcare, to our housing, to our nutritional food, to our higher education, so that we're actually meeting the basic needs of everyday working families in this country. So that we're not just getting by and surviving, so that we're actually thriving. And in the wealthiest, most powerful country on earth, we're not asking for much.
You mentioned healthcare, and one of your top policies is Medicare for All, but Diana DeGette is a co-sponsor of the Medicare for All Act in Congress. Are there any dividing lines between the two of you on Medicare for All?
Yeah, the dividing line is how we actually get it done. There is no world where we pass Medicare for All.
Yes, Jank and Kyle, alongside many others, started Justice Democrats. Shoykot was early Justice Democrat guy, and he's like carried that flame as well.
Oh, wow. There is still a majority of members of Congress that are taking money from the very health insurance companies that would effectively be legislated out of existence. It's the same reason why the National Nurses United's policy director also expressed concern for members of Congress that are co-sponsoring this bill while also taking money from big health insurance companies. And we have to pass Medicare for All. We have to get that done in the next Democratic administration. That's how we MAGA-proof our future. That's how we guarantee that whatever sycophant fills Donald Trump's shoes in 2032 and tries to lay blame on all of our vulnerable communities for why the system is rigged, we can point to a piece of legislation that we passed that meaningfully helped working families. And the only way we get Medicare for All passed is by getting rid of the Democrats that are actively standing in that way, by taking money from the same interests that don't want to see Medicare for All passed.
You have made your personal story as an immigrant to this country a part of your campaign, and you have talked about how your father spoke to you about Democrats as a child, which is why you wanted to be a Democrat, and sort of part of your origin story is why you decided to run in this race. Talk to me about why your personal life story makes you suited to be the congressperson in Colorado at this moment.
Yeah, I immigrated to Denver in 98 when I was a baby and watched my parents navigate this brand new country, navigate the immigration process. And once they became naturalized and chose the party that they wanted to belong to, I asked him why he chose the party of Democrats. And he said, because this is the party that fights for working people. This is the party that got fair labor laws, the New Deal, Social Security. This is the party that fights for working people. But it didn't just happen overnight. People had to push the party to fight for these kinds of policies. That was organizers, that was dreamers, that were people pushing leadership in our party to fight for working families. That's what we just saw in New York City, the voters pushing the party to elect leaders that are going to stand up to the special interests and the billionaires and the corporations that are responsible for burning our planet and keeping our prices high. I think that's what we're going to see here in Denver on Tuesday, and I think we're seeing it happening all across the country.
Moderate Democrats are worried that this
Hell yeah.
shift to the left.
She's such a good communicator, by the way. Straight up. She's so good. So fucking good. So dynamic. This is one of the things that I have to also say. What is this? Zionists are desperately trying to create their own Hassan and failing miserably. Oh my God. I don't like to be. Oh God. They've made a Wario me. Okay. It's fucking annoying. It's so whack, dude. Hasanabi. They invented Hasbarabi. That's what they did. Actually, I should probably put that on the original tweet. Delete. Repost. And then leftovers returning. Somebody said in the chat. Yeah. Well, Ethan does love him. Hit Benjamin at work, yes or no? Boss makes $1, you make a dime, king. Take some autonomy back. Zoran Hasbaram Dabi. Oh, nah. I know Unc ain't wearing a toothpick. Yeah, I am, dude. The toothpick changes your life, dude. Changes my life. Anyway, toothpick changes everything.
Or policies put forward by Democratic Socialists will hurt Democrats' long-term electoral chances. And we've heard it over and over again, yet Democratic Socialists continue to win. What do you say to that criticism from the establishment part of the party?
I'd point out that they've shown no evidence for why any of these policies would hurt the party in the long term. In fact, there is a mountain of evidence that shows that.
Apparently, you're more chud than Republicans, according to some leftists. I swear I can't anymore. Oh, dude, I know. I see it all the time. My favorite thing is the ACP guys saying that Asmongold is closer to class consciousness than I am, and that Sneeko is a better leftist than I am. The ACP guys are running on pure reactionary fumes, and it's so funny that like their whole thing is just like hating me and everything I do. And it's become this like insane thing where Asmongold, who owns like 7 fucking businesses, they will literally go on Twitter and sincerely be like, Asmongold is actually far more based than Hassan. Like I saw that. Yeah, the MAGA communists. It's awesome. ACP is literally just the FBI entrapping GRU assets. Yeah. Anyway, so it's aesthetics based. I don't know what it's based on. I don't even think like they're is a general secretary. Like Haas is as dumb as the unfortunate rank and filers of the ACP cadres are on Twitter. But there is definitely a lot of enmity. There's definitely a lot of maybe even envy, anger, resentment towards not just the DSA, but also, shit that I'm doing. Why haven't you worn a rainbow button up for a month? Do you hate pride? Thank you for your attention to this matter. True. I think Asmongold is a representative of the working class, a lumpenprole. Well, he's not a lumpenprole. He is a business owner, right? He is a capital owner, but his audience is all comprised of lumpens. His audience doesn't have fucking businesses. They're just all unbelievably reactionary weirdos who, live in their own filth and think that is an appropriate way to live. They're all a bunch of shut-ins that will, comprise the backbone, I guess, of the modern fascist movement. So, all right, what am I doing? Let's finish this
Policies
video.
like Medicare for All, Housing First, and universal childcare would be immensely helpful to working families and therefore helpful to the party. At the end of the day, it is cheaper to house someone than to leave them homeless. It is cheaper to heal someone than it is to let them go sick. It is cheaper to give young families childcare than it is to let them figure it out for themselves or force one of them to stay out of the workforce. These are all common sense policies that have the support of a super majority of the voters of this party. I would recommend that the moderate voters that are afraid of what they're seeing right now actually just talk to their voters and see that this is what the party is actually building towards.
Milak Kiros, Democratic candidate for Colorado's 1st Congressional District. Really nice to talk to you. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you, Jacob.
What? You decided to wear suits and Tyler decided to drop them? Good.
My name is Milak Kiros. Denver is the 5th least affordable city in the country. It's also one of the youngest cities in the country.
Dude, I'm going to say it one more time. Denver DSA has been quietly so impressive with their canvas operations, with their media. I mean, it has been remarkable. Okay? Straight up, all glaze and all praise the Denver DSA. I know that, like, obviously New York City DSA is the one that everybody pays attention to. It's 15,000 strong at this point. It's a huge army, basically, of door knockers, organizers, activists, and they've seen a lot of success. One of the things that Denver DSA has done, is Maylock canvassers are on track to knock close to 10,000 doors today alone. This is the most insane shit I've ever seen in Colorado politics. Even Obama in 2008 wasn't pulling this type of canvasser crowds. Okay. We gotta draw more youth turnout, though. Straight up. It's clear, though, that Denver DSA is reliable, resilient, and they're doing the motherfucking work. Okay? It's not just Denver DSA, the whole Colorado DSA body is working on this. Shout out Boulder DSA. The entirety of, I mean, it's the same as, like, when I say New York City DSA, I'm talking about, like, the entirety of the New York DSA. And DSA doesn't tell the volunteer army to stand down like Obama did. No, we're going to keep using that, obviously. Shout out to the entire Colorado DSA. Shout out to everybody in Colorado. It's been incredible to watch. I mean, the media is so good too, man. It's so good. It's been so impressive.
Also one of the most progressive districts in the country. And, you know, we have things like universal pre-K and term limits and publicly financed elections, but we have a lot of young families that are struggling with childcare. We have a lot of young people that are getting priced out of the city because of how expensive it is to live here. People are just getting squeezed. Our representative here in Denver, who's been there for 30 years, has taken money from a lot of these corporations that have been standing in the way of passing meaningful legislation. I felt called to run because we should have representatives who are unbought and unafraid to stand up to these interests.
I'm Palestinian and I think you're the biggest loser. You should be banned. You're the biggest loser and a horrible person from a Palestinian. You have the mental ability of a turtle. How are you not banned? Okay, buddy.
And are ready and willing to fight tooth and nail for working families and the basic rights that they deserve. We've been running for the last 11 months a truly grassroots, people-powered campaign. I'll never forget when Bernie, called on people to run themselves. To
ban me, kid. I will not. I will never ban you. Why would I ban DJ Khaled? Why would I ban Nayib Bukele? Why would I ban Richard Hanania? I would never. I wouldn't dare. Why would I ban the son of Hamas guy? Why would I ever ban Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib? Why would I ban Nas Daily? Why would I ban who else? John Aziz, the peace poet. Mossab Hassan Yusuf, that's the son of Hamas. Ban me now. My whole family loves you because you're Palestinian, but you're a horrible person. I'm not banning you. I'm not banning you. Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib. He 100% doesn't know these names. Yes, but he is them. He is all of them. I'm sorry that your whole family loves me, but they're very upset with your worldview. Maybe you should listen to them. I'm Palestinian and I find you pretty chill. Does it balance itself out? Yes. That's how it goes. One in, one out. Also, I'm not Palestinian. I'm Turkish. My family all got kicked out of Gaza by Jews, but you're still a bad person. All Jews aren't horrible. Okay. That's interesting. I don't think all Jews are horrible at all. I don't know where you arrived at that conclusion. That's strange. I don't associate Israel's actions with Judaism at all, but that's interesting that you think that for some reason. Where'd you learn that?
The person who stands up and fights for your communities. And so to have his endorsement, it means everything.
You've had a heck of a week. I mean,
All right, we're gonna do the Zoran. We're gonna do the Zo momentum. The Zomentum. Zoran Mamdani, Democratic Party has to be willing to fight for working people. This is ABC News interviewing Zoran Mamdani. Great clips have come out of this already. A lot of aura moments. Okay, a lot of aura, a lot of movement, a lot of motion, a lot of momentum. Zomentum, as they're calling it.
the election,
I gotta pee.
The candidates you endorsed won down the line, and you knocked off 2 Democratic incumbent members of Congress. Is this like a unique moment in New York, or is this the beginning of a national movement?
I think we are seeing a hunger that is not just felt by New Yorkers, but frankly by Americans from coast to coast for a new kind of politics, one that puts working people at the heart of it. And I think for far too long, what we as a party have been able to say to New Yorkers who are struggling is simply to explain why they're struggling, not actually offer them a vision for how to make life better. And these candidates, Brad, Daria Lisa, Claire, they ran campaigns that spoke to working people and that said life in the nation's most expensive city need not be this way any longer. And I can't wait to have them as partners in DC in that work.
So do you see yourself endorsing candidates outside of New York, or?
You know, for now, my focus is on this incredible slate of 3 congressional candidates, as well as you said, the 5 candidates I endorsed who ran and won, who are all going to be heading to Albany in the state legislature. But I do think, as you said, it's not just New York City where working people are asking themselves, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I find enough money in my pocket for childcare, no matter how hard I work? And I'm so excited that these incredible soon-to-be Congress members will be helping to lead the fight across the country on making sure that working people are right there where they should be, which is the heart of the conversation.
The reaction from Democrats has been something. You've had some prominent Democrats dismissive of what happened here. I mean, you had Senator Blumenthal say the effort to nationalize New York is going to fail. What happened in New York will be really irrelevant by the time of the elections in November. Hakeem Jeffries basically said the same thing, saying that this is not indicative of what needs to happen in November. What do you make of that?
You know, I think that when you ask Americans what they're feeling in this moment, amidst reports of an economy that's strengthening, of a stock market that's booming, you will hear an exhaustion at having to try and make ends meet every single day, every single week, every single month. And
you're literally more anti-Semitic than Kanye West, but sure, chat, everyone unfollow this horrible, horrible person. Buddy, where does this come from? Like, where did you learn this? Like, who duped you into believing this? I don't know why you're not answering this question. This guy's called Zionism a mental illness? Like, literally a horrible person? Yeah, Zionism is fascism, and all manner of fascism is mental illness. Yes, Zionism is racism. Ironically, it's the ideology. If you are Palestinian and your whole family got kicked out of their homes, that is the motivating ideology that caused your family to lose their homes at gunpoint. Brody is a Nas Daily clone? Yeah. Is this a Asmold fan, maybe? It's common knowledge. Yeah, my grandma told me stories about how she got kicked out of Gaza at gunpoint. You're right. Okay. Still doesn't make it right to say what you say. So you think the ideology, the racist ideology that justified your grandparents getting kicked out of their fucking villages at gunpoint, calling that racist ideology what it is, racism, is one, anti-Semitic for some reason, because you're claiming that all Jews think this way and that this ideology has something to do with Judaism. I'm not. And you're saying that that is like that's somehow an anti-Semitic opinion. Is that what it is? Still doesn't make it right what to say what you say. You're not saying what I say. Bro, you literally support Hamas. How are you even talking to me? What do you mean? I support the legal right of Palestinians to resist against a settler colonial occupier entity. Okay? Which is a long way to say I support all people's right to autonomy, to sovereignty, to independence. Okay? That's what that is. I support international law. That's it. I support international law. He's trying to get you banned to say he's faking being Palestinian for a clip. I mean, I don't know if he's faking being Palestinian or not. You know. But I'll clarify my position. Maybe this person will understand. Resist, bomb, kidnap innocent people? No, that's Israel, buddy. I'm not in support of that. What do you mean? Resist, bomb, and kidnap innocent people? That's Israel. I'm not in support of that. Excuse me. Where are you coming? Where are you coming up with that? What is this? Who seriously likes Nas daily? Oh my God. Of course. Of course, dude. Two Hosberists. Anyway, let's continue.
That it's getting harder and harder. And so a message of fighting for working people, we don't have to nationalize that message. That is a national message. It's a national crisis. And for far too long, all we've had to say as a party is opposition to the current administration. What do we have to say beyond that? And what these candidates offer is a vision that extends beyond the midterms, it extends beyond 2028. It speaks to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats. It speaks to a vision that goes back to a New Deal understanding of what working people deserve. And I'll tell you that for too long, that kind of politics, you can only find it in history books, and we need to bring it back to the present day.
And you're hearing some not just dismissive, though. There's resentment. And this is from fellow Democrats who think that this could jeopardize Democratic chances in the fall. I mean, you've got Josh Gottheimer, a Democratic member of Congress, says, many of us believe, as do I, if you're a socialist, you are not a Democrat. And in fact, they put out a manifesto today. I don't know, have you seen this thing?
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's not a communist manifesto.
That's revisionist. It's not bad to write manifestos. Zoran. God damn it, you fucking liberal. Don't use socialism as a pejorative, even if it's to make a zinger.
So it's a moderate manifesto saying we are capitalist, not socialist. We believe.
What about October 11, buddy? Asmongold is right about you. October 11. Asmongold is right about you. You're an Asmongold fan that says I'm an anti-Semite? Dude, why are there so many Asmongold fans that literally will be like, he has no Asmongold logs? Yeah. I don't know what this guy is doing, but it's always funny. It's always funny when like people will come in here and be like, you know who's not an anti-Semite? Asmongold. Asmongold openly says he is a funnel for Nick Fuentes, okay? Asmongold has called Nick Fuentes' statements about the Holocaust denial based. It's so strange whenever people, my man's like October 11, never forget. Yeah, Asmongold said your people are an inferior culture that has genocide baked into their identity and you deserve to be genocided. Okay? I mean, I don't know what fucking frequency you're on, buddy, but Openly revealing that you're an Asmongold fan while simultaneously saying you're a Palestinian is hilarious. That is an Asmold and Pegaslav viewer. I don't understand how people can just like lose sight of reality about their own people. And he's right about Hamas and Muslims in Gaza supporting the genocide of Jews. What the fuck? Dude, you have lost your way, man. No wonder your family doesn't talk to you anymore. Jesus Christ. Nobody wants the genocide of Jews, chatter. Well, you know, Nick Fuentes might, but, you know, that's a separate thing.
A growing, fair, and competitive economy, entrepreneurship, ownership. I mean, this is a direct
Palestinian guy who comes in here to be like, my whole family loves you, and that's why I hate you. Why won't they love me instead? I don't know. Maybe because you fucking genuinely believe that like all Muslims in Gaza want to genocide the Jews, and in a litany of other insane statements like that that justify Israel's genocide, weirdly enough, of your own people. Perhaps that's the reason. Read a book, man. Read Rashid Khalidi, okay? Read 100 Years in Palestine. Read Ilan Pape, 10 Myths. Read something, please. Please stop watching YouTubers, myself included. Go outside, you know, enjoy the world. Pick up a book, okay? In the name of Allah, read. You must be like a Christian Palestinian saying Muslims in Gaza want genocide. It doesn't matter. If you, Christian Palestinians wouldn't also say that either. Like Ihab Hassan is anti-Hamas. He would never fucking turn around and say all Muslims in Gaza want to genocide the Jews or whatever. He would never say that.
response. They've made it clear to what you did here on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you know, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes a little less than a year ago. And when we're talking about these incredible congressional candidates, they won their races, and they won their races with a vision of what politics should be, and one that actually speaks to working people. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? And you can tell them the answer at a theoretical level. It's the choice to extend democracy from the ballot box the rest of their lives. But in terms of what it means over these last 7 months, we've seen a city with...
Dude, that's another incredible line. What is a party if not its voters is an incredible line, because it directly cuts away at this this weird propaganda that like right-wing Democrats are trying to present. I tweeted about this earlier today. I said, right-wing Dems yell at us not to vote third party every 4 years. We run leftist and Dem primaries. Socialists win Democratic primaries because voters realize they're actually invested in advancing the agenda right-wing Democrats simply lie about. And then right-wing Democrats demand socialists create third party. Rinse and repeat. Who does a political party belong to if not the voters is such a great answer. He's on a generational run. Oddly, it empowers him that he can't run for president. And I hope Republicans are dumb enough to try to make him the face of the Democrats. Yeah. Because, like, there's got to be a reason why the Democratic Party's voters are going out and voting for Democratic Socialists, right? They're the ones who are voting. One must ask the question why they're voting for Democratic Socialists. Like, you can't, this was, the New York one is also really interesting because it's a closed primary system. And in a closed primary, only Democratic voters are voting. Okay? So if in a closed primary system, only lifelong Democrats are going out and voting, people who are registered to vote for the Democrats are going out and voting for the Democrats, that means these are your voters. And obviously, right-wing Democrats can't criticize the voters, even though they really want to. So they try to do this disciplining operation against the Democratic Socialist electeds. They try to do this disciplining operation against spokespeople for this movement, myself included. What they don't like is that voters want this, okay? But they can't openly say that. They can't openly be like, this is what the voters want and we fucking hate it. Why don't you shut the fuck up and just vote for us? They can't say that because that would look insane. But that's basically what they're trying to say. Do you understand? And the reason as to why there's appetite for this kind of politics from the Democratic Party is because the Democratic Party, by and large, advances this agenda even if they're not sincerely on board with it. And you don't hear Democratic socialists turn around and be like, why are you guys lying? Why don't you run? Why don't you just abandon the Democratic Party and become Republicans because you are, right? You guys run on wanting to you guys always run on socialist or socialist adjacent policies, but then you never implement it. And the voters end up asking why you don't implement these policies, right? The reality of the matter is a lot of these right-wing Democrats are just Republicans that are ashamed, okay? They're ashamed of the moniker. That is the reason why there's this massive friction now. That friction does not exist between Democratic, like right-wing centrist Democratic electeds and Democratic socialist electeds. That friction is actually right-wing centrist Democratic electeds and the base of support, the voters. No one is going out and voting in the polls because they're like, I love, the lighter version, the more moderate version of the racist policies that the Republicans are advancing, and that's why I'm voting for the Democrats. They vote against Republicans, or they vote because they genuinely believe that the Democrats are going to advance these causes that they're supposedly claiming that they're going to advance. No one is voting for a corporate stooge because they love the corporate-backed stooges in the Democratic Party. No Democrat is voting because they're like, I want moderate Democrats to be, in support of Israel permanently. There's an avenue for that. There's a route for that, right? And that route is the Republican Party. If you're antagonistic to the existence of immigrants on American soil, one of the most diverse countries on the fucking planet, there's a route for that. There's a party for you. It's called the Republican Party. Democrats are not the party that says, we are not a nation of immigrants. We're not a nation of strangers. We have to do away with this notion. We are going to be the reasonable anti-immigrant party. No one is voting for that. At most, people are plugging their noses and voting against the Republican fascism. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back to Zoran.
Democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings.
So is it pragmatic democratic socialism?
I think democratic socialism at the heart is pragmatic, because if we cannot deliver for working people, then what is this for? I'm not interested in writing a manifesto or frankly in reading one. I'm interested in delivering, and that's exactly what we've been showing.
But they're saying...
He said, put down the theory. It's time for praxis. Zoran Mamdani calls out theory nerds. Zoran Mamdani calls out theory nerds, says it's time to put the pen and paper down and get to work. Roll up your sleeves. It's praxis time. I'm about delivering results, he says.
That if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat. I mean, is there room in the party for both of these views?
Yes, here I am. Here are so many more. And I think what makes our party a beautiful party is the fact that it's a big tent, that we have
But you've also said it has to be a party with a spine, with a backbone.
Yes,
so
even a tent has to stay up.
Yes, so, does it have to stand firmly for these ideas that you're talking about that others are calling dangerous?
I think it has to stand for working people. And I think it has to be willing to fight for working people. And I think that there are some who are offended by the prospect of a party that knows who it fights for and goes every day to work for that. Because what we've seen over many years is a willingness to not only explain away the status quo, but frankly even to look to benefit from the status quo. And that's not what working people are looking for from our party.
Yeah, Zoran said the philosophers of the world have heretofore only analyzed the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. That's what Zoran Mamdani said. No one else, actually. Zoran Mamdani invented that right there.
As New Yorkers were going to vote, you said something interesting. You said the race for 2028 starts now, the presidential race.
Bars.
What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of pundits ask me about this race and what it means and how to think about it. And at the core of Tuesday's results was a message from Democratic voters across the largest city in the United States of America about the kind of politics they want to see. And we know that we oppose the cruelty of the federal administration. What is it that we stand for beyond that?
So you can't just be anti-Trump.
You can't.
Obviously.
You got to have something you are not.
I do not think he likes Marx, though. Seems like a social democrat. It's actually interesting that I've never talked to Zoran, even in private, about his ideological tendency. And certainly not in public. But I don't. I mean, he's quoted Gramsci and stuff like that. Obviously, I do believe that he is a socialist. You would have to go through his older videos and stuff like that at DSA conferences to pick up on what he is. Word on the street is he's a trot. I hope not. That would be devastating. If I recall, he was part of Bread and Roses in DSA. But yeah, some of his older videos, like some of his older speeches from conferences and whatnot, obviously were far more radical, and that leads me to believe that he definitely is, he's definitely well read. I don't think he's like. He's described himself a little bit of SMC and BNR. Maybe he's a Posadist. Yeah, dude, he's a Posadist. What's wrong with trots? I mean, in this day and age, I feel like they've abandoned some of their previous counter-revolutionary tendencies, but a lot of trots are so aggressively anti-USSR. Even if Trotsky himself was not all the way to the bitter end, his writing, his writing on Stalin did get used quite frequently by not only the CIA but a lot of capitalist anti-communist. Like his writing is the backbone of anti-communist thought in the Western world. It's just true, and I feel like the trot tendency is almost, although he was, fairly pragmatic and obviously a profoundly important part of the revolution initially, a lot of trots will always behave as though this is like a revolution betrayed, and that it's too much of a splinter, that there was this idealism, there was this idealistic USSR if only Trotsky had won and not Stalin. And then you can always point out to the excesses of the USSR and say, no, there's this like pure socialism that exists out there. There's this pure socialism that exists out there that has just never been achieved. And the USSR actually betrayed the revolution. And Stalin specifically betrayed the revolution, and the USSR became like a degenerative worker state that wasn't like real socialism. And I think that I think that ultimately that laid the foundation of a lot of anti-communist thought in the Western world. So some of the trots. Some of the trots will take hardline stances that is borderline anti-communist, anti-socialist when it comes to actually existing socialism or actually existing socialist states, or rather attempts at creating a transitional socialist state.
Not just willing to stand up for, but that you're also willing to explain how this is relevant to working people. And I think this just comes back to the fact that I'm leading a city that's the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. I could end the sentence there and say that life is great for 8.5 million people, but it's also a city where 1 in 4 are living in poverty. And for far too many Americans, those contradictions have become their day-to-day life. And we need a party that's able to recognize the strengths of this economy and understand that it hasn't reached enough people.
Now, you know, there's been a lot of attention. One of the candidates you supported who won, who knocked off an incumbent Democrat, is Darlisa Villa-Chevalier. She said some very
You know, critiques of actually existing socialism isn't exclusive to Trots, right? Adorno and Hork are not Trots, nor is Angela Davis. Yes. Angela Davis is an anarchist. Of course. I know. There are plenty of critiques of actually existing socialism. Ultimately, none of these states were allowed to fully go through this transition without unbelievable interventions from the outside. Anyway, all of these distinctions are stupid. I think. I don't care. I don't give a shit. See, there is no AES because it's supposed to be international.
controversial things, including calling for the abolition of prisons, couldn't say whether or not somebody who had committed murder should be in prison, called for open borders, against all deportations, including those of violent criminals. Are those positions that the Democratic Party could win on nationally?
I think what the Democratic Party can win on nationally is a focus on working people. And I think that what I saw from Darlisa when I would walk the streets of her district was a focus on what she describes as a politics of life. She would talk about how we have to invest in babies, not bombs. She's now going to represent what is one of the poorest districts in the United States of America. And what people in that district are exhausted by is a politics that has justified the spending of tens of billions of dollars in killing civilians overseas while working people are struggling just to do the basics.
But how does abolishing prisons or having open borders fit into that? I mean,
Miyavlamak, you're literally Turkish. You're literally Turkish. You're literally Turkish. Okay? Worry about Erdogan. Don't want to hear from you right now. Okay? Nasıl bir koalisyon kurdunuz abi? Ha? Yaptınız mı? Nerede? Sende var mı komünizm batın? Okey. İkimiz de getirmiyoruz o zaman. Ne güzel.
see how those are ideas that a lot of your Democrats that are warning about what happened here say are toxic. Most of America won't go along with it. They're bad ideas. They're dangerous ideas.
I think what the focus of her race was, what the focus of her candidacy was about the struggle that working people are facing. And I think that we can have disagreements on policy positions. What we have to agree on is what are we fighting for and who are we fighting for? She showed that in her race, and I think that many people will come to appreciate that in her leadership to come.
So we can disagree on something as basic as whether or not there should be prisons?
That's
not your position.
There are prisons,
yes.
And what we're also showing in this city is that safety is not something that's up for debate. It's something that we're actually delivering on. And I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that currently has the lowest recorded number of murders and shootings in recorded history in New York City.
So there was also a take, it's not just Democrats, you've probably heard what President Trump had to say about you and about the candidates you supported, and he warned that if socialists win, and he calls you communists, but you will start living.
That's a decent answer. I think mine is better. I think that her worldview or the goals that she wants to move in the direction of center empathy, and albeit they're unachievable in this current day, are still probably closer to the average person's perspective than those who are in Congress who believe that, you know, Israel is a great force for, is a wonderful American ally, or those who are in Congress who believe that we should maintain private prisons. You know? Like, focusing on rehabilitation to reduce recidivism in this country, as many countries already have, like Norway, is probably a far more equitable and just answer to this issue, and creates a long-standing solution. Too wordy gang, leave mayoring to Big Z. Oh my God. Oh my God. I know. That's why he's the mayor and I'm a fucking streamer. I know. I mean, he did a far better job on dealing with this. He did a far better job in dealing with this than I think AOC even did as well. The average American or even anyone over the age of 25 thinks they should do El Salvador in their own countries. I'm sorry. No, I know. There are a lot of insanely reactionary opinions when it comes to crime and punishment. It's one of the... I don't understand tankies. I'm new to this. Help me. What? Tankies? God, I hate this fucking term so much. Ay, ay, ay. Dude, what are we talking about, dude? Campist, tanky... These terminologies don't exist anymore and should not exist anymore because there is no Cold War anymore. Okay? There is no camp to be a part of. You're either a part of the fucking imperial hegemonic superpower or you think other countries in the periphery should be given room to breathe. That's it. So if you are someone who thinks maybe we should stop murdering brown people in the global south, you're automatically classified as a fucking tanky. It's just an online LARP. We have to stop. We have to do away with this online LARP. Okay? Campist only mattered as a statement. By the way, shout out to the fucking trots. Okay, once again. Campus only matters as a terminology if there are camps that you can be a part of, and the trot position is supposed to be no camps. Okay? Not USSR, not American imperialism. We're a secret third thing. Okay? Where is it? Yeah, the secret third thing? CIA. Anyway, it's very stupid to utilize terminology that like British lifestylists invented during the suppression of the Hungarian counter-revolution or during the Hungarian Revolution, depending on your ideology there, that the USSR used brutal techniques of utilizing their tanks to squash dissent in Hungary. Okay? This is not a thing that exists in the world right now. What is the militant force that is carrying the torch of communism around the globe? China's not doing that. That's a crazy take, bruh. Sorry. You're saying campism doesn't exist today? I'm just saying that, like, campism, okay, just like the term tanky, just like the term campus, is something that people misunderstand. It's a term that people misunderstand and misuse and abuse over and over again. They hit that button. It's a thought-terminating cliche. It's a thought-terminating term. And it's really fucking annoying because people that, like, misunderstand where these terms come from and misattribute these terms to whatever their political opposition is. It's just a way to say fucking terrorist, right? It's just a more intellectualized version of saying terrorism. You're a terrorist. You're supporting terrorists. Terrorist this, terrorist that. That's all this is. It's just like an annoying liberal version of literally saying that, okay? Which many liberals do also just straight up call me a fucking terrorist. Anyway, campism has existed though, right? Yes, it has, but what camp exists? You either are pro-NATO Atlanticism, pro-American imperialism, or what? What is the other unified bloc? Is it Russia and North Korea? Is that it? It's barely China. Like, what is the self-identifying unified bloc against American imperialism? Because, like, if you say it's being pro-China, right? Being in the pro-China camp, then what is the pro-China camp? What has China done as far as, like, identifying and destroying attempts of further American encroachment and American imperialism? Nothing. Just existing? Is that it? Like, the BRICS is not a real camp. If anything, I guess the Axis of Resistance is one of the only, like, militant forces that is directly combating American imperialism in one region, right? But that's it. So-called campists do view a somewhat unified bloc of anti-imperialist states, Russia, Iran, China, etc. But what countries fit into that depend on the flavor of the person. Sometimes it excludes, like, Burkina Faso. Sometimes it includes, like, Burkina Faso and the West African juntas. Sometimes it excludes China, etc. Exactly. And that is because there's no, like, real unified anti-imperialist bloc on the planet right now. The only thing that you could closely associate with a unified anti-imperialist movement is unironically the Axis of Resistance, from Ansar Allah, Hamas-led Palestinian resistance, Hezbollah, and numerous other IRGC aligned forces and the IRGC itself. But that's it. China certainly is not a part of some sort of like resilient anti-imperialist movement in the way that the USSR was, right? Russia certainly is not. I wouldn't say Russia is. What is this? Framing the present crisis via the old Cold War moralism won't work. Oh yeah, this is about me. Eric Levitz called me a campist or a tanky or whatever. Framing the present crisis via the old Cold War moralism won't work. That the U.S. can now be seen as a vicious and amoral empire is progress. Our responsibility is to change it, not to seek retroactive justifications in comparison to something worse, as John Gaddis used to say. Bingo, I was just thinking campism makes no sense outside the polarities of the Cold War, and you expressed this perfectly. Yeah, you can't red bait without the Reds, you know? Like what militancy can you offer material support to, with the exception of, I guess, like the axis of resistance, which you can't because it's like unbelievably illegal. And even then, it's not the same as the Cold War dynamic because there's no, like, beyond combating imperialism as a direct consequence of the existential crisis that many of these groups are facing in their own regions. There is no, like, ideological block alignment either. It's not like the IRGC or Hamas or Hezbollah are socialist or communist. They're just purely trying to survive. They're purely trying to allow their people to survive against Israeli militarism, against American militarism, against American intervention, and intervention with aligned forces such as the Gulf states, for example. So that's it. That's it. There's no real unified block that you can show support to or be in the camp of. Yeah. Libs misuse campus to mean reflectively siding with the power or believing the U.S. is generally in the wrong. Yes. And it's ironic because campism initially meant you're one of two. You're part of either camp, right? You're either part of the capitalist imperialist powers, which is the United States, which is literally the only remaining camp that exists because the U.S. won the Cold War. Western capitalism won the Cold War. The USSR lost. Communism lost. Right? This guy invented being a trot from first principles. Look, I mean, you could just agree that all sides are wrong. This is what I mean. This is my disagreement with the idealized version of events that trots seemingly hold on to, or even left comms at different points seemingly abide by, where it's like, you don't understand. There's this secret thing that has never existed, and that revolution is not going to be ugly or have issues and blemishes and excesses, and being critical of said excesses to understand what they were to make sure that they're not repeated is very different than I'm in favor of a secret thing that has never existed. You sound so idealistic. This kind of like purist attitude is never going to be pragmatic at all. That's why I'm, far more pragmatic and understand why, Dengist reforms happened in China, for example. A lot of people are dogmatic in their approach to Marxism. A lot of MLs are somewhat, the anti-revisionist MLs are dogmatic, and they think that the only way that real existing socialism can be implemented is through a Marxist-Leninist formation that leads the proletariat into a revolutionary state and is completely commanded by a Marxist-Leninist party. Okay. In Star Wars, the coolest characters are the centrists. The secret thing isn't secret. It's my Discord server. Yes, it always comes back to that. It often just seems like you lump trots, anarchists, left comms, and Western Marxists in one group often. I mean, this is just this. Perhaps there's a reason for why I do that, because that's usually what Western Marxists are. Let's be fucking real. Imagine in 2033, revisionism is considered centrism. That'd be great. This is a convo that came out of a chatter asking if Mamdani is a secret Marxist. What the fuck? Yeah. This is such a bad take. So disappointing, bro. I know. My thought on this is I'm agnostic, okay? I'm in favor of all of it. Any and all, okay? Socialist ideological tendencies, any/all. I guess except for anarchism. That's it. We'll figure it out along the way. Fuck you and your daily punching down on anarchities. Sorry. Anarchists are also profoundly important in direct action and mobilization. Okay? They're in the motherfucking front lines. I respect it.
Living in squalor, there'll be no food, no housing, no military, no law and order. There'll be nothing. And he had a few other choice words. By the way, he also said he still likes you. But what do you make of what he? I mean, the Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November, and over the course of these last 6 months, what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history. That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're...
That's it. And this is precisely the reason why I say he is still a movement guy, okay? Regardless of whatever kind of criticism I might have at any given moment, some of which I was wrong on, and I openly will admit that. I'll eat that, you know? And some of the criticisms I still hold and maintain. He is a real one. This is the point, okay? First, you run as a democratic socialist, and you run on issues, okay? You run on how you're going to improve people's lives. Then you win. And then I can point to that and say, look, see? He did it, you can too. Other people pay attention to that. They go, I like winning. I would like to do that as well. Then from that point on, you govern as a democratic socialist. You associate democratic socialism with a clear, definable agenda, with identifiable goals that you want to advance. And you achieve those goals. And then you reinstill confidence in good governance. And you associate good governance with democratic socialism. Okay, and then you expand on that victory. You take the momentum off that victory and you continue organizing and you continue mobilizing and you add more numbers. You add more numbers as others who are also running as democratic socialists, winning as democratic socialists, and governing as democratic socialists. This is how you do it. And this was why he was elected into this position of power, to not only deliver a radical agenda for New Yorkers that places New Yorkers first, that places the working class at the heart of this movement, but will actually deliver on results for the working class. And when other people see that, they go, why can't I have this? I want this as well. It makes good governance an achievable goal, a realistic goal. Okay? That's it. So every victory that he notches is not only a victory for New York City and New Yorkers, but a victory for the movement of democratic socialism. Okay? It proves that a more responsive politics is achievable. It proves that a politics that centers the working class is achievable. It creates confidence in this movement. Okay? It emboldens this movement. It restores confidence in good governance. And it identifies good governance with democratic socialism. This is exactly what he was supposed to do, and he is doing it. Okay? It's fantastic.
Seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well.
Can a democratic socialist get elected president?
I think a democratic socialist can get elected.
What do you mean? Your criticisms are things he didn't campaign around. I mean, there are certain things he didn't openly say that he was campaigning around, like associating good governance with democratic socialism, but he's doing that because that's a part of a broader working class focused movement. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there are certain things he said he was going to do, like disbanding the SRG, keeping the head count for the NYPD the same. Those are promises that he made on the campaign trail that he hasn't followed through on. So, you know, those are still, I think, reasonable critiques to hold Zoran accountable on. But ultimately, inside Hasanabi stream, there are two wolves: positive support for SOCDEM governance, intense support for highly restrictive and authoritarian theory. How are you going to go from left bashing the lasered focus on SOCDEM governance? Because because unlike you and unlike many people, I understand where the American people are at. I understand that there is no vanguardism in this country because there's no Marxist-Leninism in this country, because there's no class consciousness in this country. Okay? That's it. Because I'm pragmatic. Okay? Because I'm fucking pragmatic. What differentiates that from Mussolini thought? That's awesome. From Mussolini thought, because it's objectively anti-fascist. Jesus Christ. You think Mussolini was basing his theory off of dialectical materialism? Or do you think that he was personally aggrieved by the existing Communist Party in the country? Okay, intense authority with no worker input. What are you talking about? Are you saying Mussolini is a Marxist-Leninist? Is that the argument that you're trying to make? Is that literally the argument you're trying to make? What is this fucking argument? Why is it turning into misunderstanding theory Sunday? God damn, dude. Left comms fucking loop around back to any matter of authority is actually the same as fascism, existing fascism. Mussolini, known Communist Party member, of course. I mean, he was. By the way, he literally was. That is true. He was that. But that is before he became what he is known for, which is fascism, which is obviously has nothing to do and is directly antagonistic to communism.
Anywhere across this country for any position, what I think we need to bring is a focus on working people.
And that's the direction that the party should go in.
Yeah, saying Mussolini was communist is like saying Van Jones is a Maoist third worldist. Obviously, theories evolve, right? People change. Opportunists exist of all different sorts. Fascism is the highest stage of opportunism.
And in terms of selecting a candidate for 2028.
I think the direction that the party should go in is how best to fight for working people. I think we need to have a platform and a vision that doesn't sound as if it was cooked up by consultants, but instead one that you would say in response to someone who's asking, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I afford my childcare? We need to make clear who we stand for, how we're going to stand for them, and that we're actually willing to fight for them when the going gets tough.
Obviously, Israel was a big issue in these races. Not the only issue, but a big issue. Is there room in the Democratic Party for candidates, officials who support Israel, not just support Israel, but support military aid for Israel? This was a huge issue for you.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the time for us as elected officials to pronounce what the party should be is one that should come to an end, and we should let Democratic voters themselves take the lead. And we've seen on Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across the city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. Yeah. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction. And to follow international law, to believe in the humanity of all people, it shouldn't be a journey too far. And I think that our party needs to hear what Democrats are telling it.
Democratic Socialists of America now says they no longer favor a two-state solution. Is that the way you see it as well?
Dude, it's so funny to think that, I mean, I hope all the DSA cadres in the chat are aware of what's about to take place, because the next national convention is not only going to be featured on the Hasanabi broadcast, it's going to be featured on CNN, NBC, ABC, ZBS, CNN, Fox News. It's already being featured, but it is really funny to think that, like, last year's national convention was what? Like, I was there. Who else was really there? Like, what major media outlet actually covered it? Like, imagine parsing through the decision-making process as to why a single solitary secular state was voted against at the DSA national convention as it was done last year. It's so funny. You must be the smartest dumb guy I know. Wait, what? I don't know what you're saying. So, if I recall correctly, the DSA voted against that. And then a lot of the outsiders, a lot of the ultras were very mad about that. And but the decision for why they voted against it was because they said, look, this should be up to the Palestinians. We shouldn't be enforcing secularity on the Palestinians, which I think is whatever. It doesn't matter. We're fucking Americans. You know what I mean? Just like I understand where it's coming from. The only difference between you and Mussolini is that he reached the conclusion that pandering to reactionary populism. Okay. Theory is when worker councils. Oh my God. Theory is when worker councils are dissolved. Didn't say Mussolini was a communist though. Workers' democracy is literally an essential part of Marx and Lenin. The only difference between you and Mussolini is that he reached the conclusion that pandering to reactionary populism is a much easier way to come to power than mass electoral politics. Your New Deal ideation is the same politics as Italian fascism. Both FDR and Mussolini agreed on this. Oh my God. Chatters, I need you to live in 2026. In many ways, your assessment is not dissimilar to the people on the left that you oppose the most. Judging by this take, I suspect, I mean, actually, I don't know. You might be a ML. But judging by this take, this is no different than saying that the only way to achieve socialism is literally the exact same methods that were deployed by the Bolsheviks, okay, in 2026, trying to compare the conditions, the material conditions of an agrarian peasant society like Tsarist Russia to 2026 industrially developed United States of America, okay? It's pure. It's pure. Name a book that disproves this law. Like, actually back up what you're saying other than trust me, bro. This is not, first of all, even the Leninist interpretation somewhat went against the Marxist assessment that was that industrialized nations with a labor force would probably be the real implementation of socialism, which demonstrably did not work. Okay? It didn't. The two most successful, internationally renowned communist revolutions took place in largely peasant societies. Okay? Agrarian USSR or Tsarist Russia and Mao in China. Okay? These were peasant-backed revolutions. I look back and yeah, the OSS lost at the National Convention. Yes, it did. One state solution that is secular lost at the National Convention. You have to rigorously interpret the current existing material conditions and apply theory to those current existing material conditions in a country that is at the heart of empire like the United States of America. A country that is at the heart of imperialism like the United States of America, that is the domineering force, the defender, the main defender of international capitalism, with a workforce that does not resemble the peasant force at all, with advanced industry that was so advanced that they moved beyond it. They moved to finance capitalism which has now eviscerated what existed of like the industrial base of the industrial labor class, their industrial labor force, is going to have a dramatically different approach. Okay? This is uncharted waters. It's untested theories. We're all working through it right now. Do you understand? You either want to adopt a dogmatic approach. You either want to apply a dogmatic approach that you or some people either want to apply a dogmatic approach to actual existing socialism that has worked, and then apply this one-size-fits-all mentality to a country that is dramatically different than any other country where socialism has ever been implemented or been tried or has been attempted. Okay? Or you have a pure idealistic framework that your pure idealistic framework that you're approaching this issue with has never even existed around the planet. The real socialism hasn't been tried mentality. Rather, the strategies that you want to employ are the ones that are equally as old as the ones you view as outdated, and thus risk screwing any attempt to build a larger movement and getting it subsumed into mainstream bourgeois politics. What do you suggest? Let's start there.
Well, the idea of two states, Palestinian, Jewish state, side by side, living in peace.
The way I see it is equal rights for all people. And I think that that's the truth for Israel. It's the truth for any country in the world. And frankly, as we're coming up close to the 250th anniversary of our nation, one of the things that makes me proudest to be an American is the belief that equal rights are at the bedrock of our notion of what it means to be an American.
And the idea of a Jewish state, Israel is a Jewish state, that's in the charter. That's the way it is now. Do you support that?
I've said time and again that I support the state of Israel as a state with equal rights. I believe that any state that preferences...
But as a Jewish state is the question.
I think any state that privileges one religion over the other is one that I can't tell you I support, whether it be Israel or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. And
good answer. This is perfectly within the confines of the liberal framework. A lot of people will say this is normalizing, he's a Zionist or whatever. It's not true. Okay? It's not. Israel as it currently exists is an ethno-state project, and that is completely antithetical to liberal humanitarian values. So it's good to utilize that framework because it's an inherent contradiction, okay? It's contradictory to everything that liberals have learned, everything that self-identifying liberals have learned about the world and about how the world should exist, okay? That's it. It's a great way to say it's an ethno-state. I don't think ethno-states should exist. No, it's a great answer. Would love if he leaned into New York City specific multiculturalism and how that's his vision for America, not ethno-supremacy. Yes, Marxism. I don't normally say this, but you are correct on this. And this is something that I think I should probably deploy as well more frequently, making that comparison between an ethno-state project in Israel under the banner of Judaism, falsely claiming that this is a goal, a project that all Jews support, is not dissimilar to our own version of ethnic supremacy that exists, that we have a dark history of championing at times, right? White supremacy. When someone comes out and says, we need Christian nationalism, America is a Christian nation state, everybody understands what that person is saying. Everybody understands that that is actually antithetical to the American values of building a robust, multicultural, diverse society, right? So why is it that we place Israel in its own special category? It's ridiculous.
And a lot of that comes back to a fundamental belief that we should all be considered equal no matter what our faith is.
How big a problem, you said it's rising, is anti-Semitism in this city?
We've seen anti-Semitism rise in this city. We've seen the fact that Jewish New Yorkers comprise a minority of our city's population and yet continue to...
Zoran is employing a dog whistle. We recognize when others do that. I mean, even dog whistling in and of itself, I think, implies that like his ultimate moral position is wrong, right? And like you have to shelter, you have to hide your moral position. I don't think, I wouldn't... I know what you're saying. I mean, he is in some ways liberalizing his anti-Zionism, making it more palatable, right? Making it more palatable. That's what he's doing. Because he is definitely an anti-Zionist, as am I, but I think he is softening his approach, or rather making his approach more palatable to the way that liberals can understand. And I think it's good. He's doing a great job with this. I don't think dog whistle is a morally charged term. He's signaling to his base he means what he means while framing it in liberal terms that don't explicitly say no. An Israel with equal rights is not Israel as it currently exists. He's saying no without saying no when they ask him, does Israel have a right to exist? Ultimately, the morality behind his sentiment has not changed. Ultimately, the goal has not changed at all, right? It's a good thing to do. It's pushing the boundaries as much as an elected representative can, because when you're an elected representative, obviously you have significant limitations in what you can and can't say. You can't be ridiculous. You can't be silly. You can't engage in like the agitative propaganda that I engage in, right? Agitprop of the sort that I deal with is very clearly looking at what is right at the edges of the confines of permissible speech and then hoping to expand it towards the left, right? Pulling by force liberals or self-identifying liberals into understanding the world from our perspective. And that is the reason why I do the thing where I say, like, you know, I'd vote for Hamas over Israel 1,000 times over. Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. I'm a harm reduction voter. Things like that I say are they're not wrong, right? But it's also by design. I'm like deliberately trying to get liberals to understand that between these two forces, like one side is closer to being on the righteous side than the other. A lot of liberals obviously have a significant hang up, right? When they're like, they've never thought about like why Palestinians resist. They understand that Palestinians are being destroyed, dominated, killed, murdered, but anything that moves beyond the perfect victimhood narrative, they can't cope with. They can't deal with. They're like, what do you mean they're fighting back? That's unacceptable. So what's the alternative? That they should just, you know, quietly take it, quietly eat it, just be killed? Israel has been an aggressor since even before 1948, when Israel was invented, right? So the notion that people are not going to harbor resentment towards this initiative that is exterminating them, that's actually ethnically cleansing them by through militancy from their ancestral homelands, I mean, it's completely ridiculous. Of course, people are going to fight back. So the question I always try to get people to arrive at is like, okay, so you say free Palestine, you say you're for a free Palestine, but you don't like the people that are shepherding the current formation of the Palestinian resistance. You don't like the people that are in charge. Okay, so let's work through that. What are some of the reasons why you don't like them? You go, okay, October 7. I say, yes, October 7 had numerous atrocities and even war crimes. Having said that, however, do you feel like the evolution of the Palestinian resistance got there because these guys are barbaric, racist monsters or Jew haters in the way that it's been presented? Or do you think this is a consequence of 80 years of apartheid and occupation and ritualistic humiliation of the Palestinians, death and destruction, controlling their diet? You know, you can't put yourself in the shoes of the Palestinian population. Yeah, I agree, and I don't hear Zoran saying this. Yes, because he's an elected representative in New York City. And his primary purpose here is to govern and govern well. Okay? And unfortunately, he's made a different calculation than someone like myself at this point, where he recognizes that if he fucking came out and said those things, then the conversation would no longer be about, you know, how there's the lowest murder rate that New York City has ever seen in its entire history. The conversation would be about how Zoran Mamdani is a Muslim communist radical who wants to do fucking 9/11s every day in New York City. There's always a give and take and a push and pull, okay? We all occupy different lanes. And a part of his goals as a movement leader is to not only govern well, but to show the rest of the country that he is governing well as a democratic socialist. And in order for him to show the rest of the country that he's governing well as a democratic socialist, he can't constantly get bogged down on distinctions between or on bastardizations of his message. And they would absolutely fucking aggressively prosecute him in the same way that they are me if he were to turn around and be like, the Palestinian resistance is a legal right to resist against Israeli occupation. I think there will come a time. I think that eventually there will come a time where everyone will have been against this, right? Where everyone will say, yes, there were atrocities that took place in the hands of the Palestinian resistance, but this was a direct byproduct of 80 years or 90 years of occupation. Whenever people inevitably arrive at this conclusion, they will. But I'm not going to say that he's doing a bad job overall, because I do understand where he's coming from. Even if this attitude actually sometimes puts him at odds with what I'm doing.
Constitute a majority of the hate crimes that have been pervaded in this city. And that's something that's unacceptable. It's something that we will never come to see as if it is a part of life. It's something that has to be fought and rooted out of every one of the 5 boroughs.
What did you think when Dan Goldman, that coffee shop in Brooklyn, said that they wouldn't serve him because of his support for Israel? You have a problem with, the idea of, of a establishment like that saying they're not going to serve somebody if they support Israel?
I've said that I have political disagreements with Congressmember Goldman. I do believe that that's a response that goes beyond that.
So that's not the right kind of thing?
No, I think it's much better to keep that critique in the way that we've done it.
Okay, so we're just about out of time. I got to ask you, I noticed that you're turning 35 soon, right?
In a few months, yes.
So you now hit one of the constitutional requirements to run for president. But there's another one that says you have to be a natural-born citizen. You were not born here.
Yes.
But do you think that's something that should be changed in the Constitution? It would take an amendment, but do you think that we should change that?
No.
No?
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is. I'm very excited to focus on New York City. But thank you for reminding me of my upcoming
35
mortality.
years old. 35 years old. All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Well, pleasure.
Hakeem Jeffries, your future colleague, was asked about these races, and he seemed to downplay them by saying some of those races were in higher income districts with an outsized focus on issues connected to
Yes, dude. Zoran and I are the same age. Muslim anti-Zionist socialist. I've never felt more directly represented in American politics in this very moment. Not that it matters at the end of the day, obviously. But
the Middle East.
I gotta pee.
How do you respond to him characterizing, potentially, seemingly, your race that way?
Well, I think it just is a misunderstanding of what this community is, because this is the second poorest congressional district in the state, and by some measures the country. And when you have a poverty rate of 26%, a childhood poverty rate of 40%, right, that speaks volumes about what our priorities are in our budgets. And I view our budgets as moral documents. We can say that we love our children, we can say we value education, but if time and time again, those are the things that are being defunded and underfunded, while the war machine is constantly getting more and more money thrown at it, I think that says much more about where our values actually lie.
You support Hakeem Jeffries as leader?
Not necessarily. I would like to have a conversation with Hakeem before we make those determinations. I think, again, I'm here to represent this district, and this district is one of the most left progressive democratic socialist districts in this country. It's full of working class people and immigrants and working families that are struggling right now, and they want to see leadership that understands that really deeply and that's ready to fight for them.
A big issue that dominated your election and many other elections across the city was, of course, Israel-Palestine. I understand you've had sort of a journey that you've gone through in engaging with the issue. Could you take us through how that journey first began?
Yeah, I actually had the privilege of visiting Palestine when I was 20, and it was 2014. And while I was there, I was living in Nablus and just meeting a lot of people, and traveled around the region. And it was a very formative experience. It was one that really taught me a lot, not only about the Palestinian context, but also about our own context here in the U.S.
I want to stop sending money for Netanyahu's wars. I don't want to spend any more military aid. I believe Israelis won't be truly safe until Palestinians are free. I'm going to be one of the Jewish members of Congress who's boldest in support of Palestinian human rights. And I'm going to stand up strong against bigotry against Jews.
I'm Native American, Mexican American. My family has been shaped by displacement, by colonialism. And I think coming from that, I have
genocide.
An understanding of the project of American empire, and so a lot of sympathy and understanding for people who are being oppressed abroad. I also come from the labor movement. My union was one of the first major unions to call for a ceasefire, to call for an arms embargo. And union members were on the front lines of fighting against apartheid in South Africa, were on the front lines of fighting apartheid in Israel. And that kind of idea of deep international solidarity, that the working class of the world is more united, has more in common with each other than we do with the war profiteers and the war machine that tries to destroy us, I think is really foundational for my politics.
You were a part of the pro-Palestine encampments, and now you're in Congress, representing the district that Columbia was in. And I believe you were arrested at the demonstration, right, at Hamilton Hall. How's that trajectory from being a part of the encampments to now representing the school for which they allowed police officers to arrest you all?
It's a very surreal experience to go from being on campus and at the encampments, and then thinking back to it now as we're stepping into a very new role, and one where, the day that the encampments began, Congress was actually condemning the students on the ground, and now to have someone who was there with them stepping into this role is just truly surreal, and I don't think I'll have words for it.
Yeah, she's going to be in charge of a district that also features Columbia University, which is her college that demanded her arrest and prosecution. That's crazy.
For it for quite some time.
I think we've seen over the last 2.5 years, obviously 75,000 people murdered, millions displaced. At the same time that our lives are getting worse here. We can't afford our rent, childcare. There's so many people who are sleeping on the street tonight, and instead of investing in lives of dignity here, we have been bombing refugee camps abroad.
Hassan, the corporate Democrats are planning on fighting DSA and corporations will help them. How do we win in the situation? Great question. So I talked about this yesterday a little bit, but corporate Democrats have never stopped fighting against their left flank, whether it takes the shape of the Democratic Socialists of America, or whether it be its affiliates, whether it be the Bernie-crats. They've always done this, right? And right now we're winning. It's not like they stopped fighting. It's not like they were like, welcome to the fucking fold. Welcome to the party. They've never stopped doing this, right? And my attitude is that is exactly why they lost. So it's important for us to explain that to them, right? Here come the 4 months of centrists attacking the left with far greater existential fury than they ever aimed at Trump, because they prefer Trump and helped him win, says Eli Valley. Centrist Democrats rebuke party's left wing. We are capitalists, not socialist. And to them, I say, bring it on. This is what they've been doing. This is exactly what led to the demise of the Democratic Party. This is what led to Donald Trump getting elected twice, not one, but twice. Okay? I said it's ironic that this pivot to the center is what caused the Democrats to lose to an incompetent fascist twice. And now there are far more Democratic socialist electoral victories because voters recognize the failure of moderates. So they have one speed. It's like that pigeon trying to do stand-up. You know the meme I'm talking about where they're like, come on, tell us another joke. And he just like flips through the jokes and it's always pivot to the center, attack the left. That's what it is. That's precisely what it is. It's a crow. That's a raven. Okay, whatever. It's not a pigeon, but you get the point. You get the point I'm making, right? And there are clearly moneyed interests at play here that can muddy the waters, but you have to be able to out-organize it. You have to be able to out-organize these people. And we can. And we have. Right? We have. With Daria Liza, that was a great example. With Claire, that was another great example. And I hope that Melak Kuros will be another victory for the socialist movement in this country. AOC was talking about this earlier, and I think she was 100% right when she said that the center of the party has no affirmative vision to provide. The only people who are saying that they will do and not what they won't do are the Democratic Socialists. Yes.
Please.
Here's AOC speaking this morning on iHeartRadio, and then we'll see the response to that.
They said, we're going to sign a pledge against socialism. And we say, okay, but then when you pull up this website, they can't answer the same question that you just asked me, Santita. There's no, okay, fine. If you're against them, that's okay, but what do you believe? And that, I think, is the core of the weaknesses from that wing in this moment. There's no affirmative vision really coming from most places in the Democratic Party, with the exception of democratic socialism. They said, we're going to sign a pledge against socialism. And we say, okay, but then when you pull up this web.
Yeah. They have no vision in the affirmative. All they have is reactionary attitudes. And this Promise to America like account that I found out recently is not even run, like, I don't even know if it's officially affiliated with the Promise to America. This like new centrism coalition that just got implemented. One of a million, okay? Whether it be the Abundis, whether it be the fucking the Problem Solvers Caucus, they've created a new one, right? Oh my God. So the Promise to America, the vision for America is mostly just a vision for Israel, let's be real, but they respond with, hi, AOC, our Promise to America isn't just about rejecting socialism, it's a vision for the future. Our principles say it best. We believe in an economy that works for everyone, not just those already at the top. We believe in secure borders and safe communities. We want a government that works to solve problems. We want a politics of persuasion, and most of all, it's just vague platitudes. The beauty of this kind of messaging is it literally is one size fits all. You could be a Republican and say this. As a matter of fact, Republicans do say this. Okay? Republicans say this all the time. This is exactly the same thing that they say. Do you understand? Democrats cannot comprehend that this goes beyond a simple branding issue, that you haven't branded centrism well enough. True centrism hasn't been tried, they say. Okay, some of them are ideological zealots. Many of them are paid to be ideological zealots because they're mercenaries, right? Because there is no guiding principle of centrism out there. It's not a real thing. Unless you're Lex Friedman, who is the one true centrist. Okay? But they have no vision in the affirmative. Socialists do. They have a place that they want to move this country towards. They have an idea of what a functioning society looks like, and they want to implement it. Meanwhile, liberals are constantly forced to respond to those changes because they're in the center and they are utterly devoid of some kind of vision in the affirmative. So what they end up doing is, like, if it's Trump that's like moving the country to the right, they say, oh, we oppose Trumpism. We want moderate solutions to mass deportations. If it's socialists moving the country to the left for the first time in a long time, they say, oh, we oppose that. We oppose amnesty initiatives. We want moderate deportations, a modest amount of deportations. That's it. Yeah. 45 years old. The Promise to America, D. New York. 45 years old, but young at heart. The King of Zing loves to say, while DSA's up to some monkey business, I'm over here standing on business and other really awesome, useful shit. And the problem for centrism right now is that if they're stuck between democratic socialism to their left and Trumpism to their right, and they choose to attack the democratic socialism of their left, because if they simply just attack MAGA Trumpism on the right, then it looks like they're aligned with the democratic socialism of the left. So they have to differentiate themselves, right? And if they have to differentiate themselves from the democratic socialism, they look like they are right-wing reactionaries. And to be fair, they are right-wing reactionaries in this moment. And that's it. And that is very unappealing. That's unbelievably unappealing to the Democratic base of support, to the voters, to the even independents that want these changes to take place, that want these changes to be implemented. Meanwhile, here's Donald Trump. Communism is the greatest threat to our country since World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or 9/11. President Donald J. Trump. That's my goat right there.
So joining us now to discuss are the two co-chairs of the Democratic Social.
AOC response to centrists telling socialists to leave the party.
Here, the corporate Democrats tell you to get out of the party. What say you? Because you're a Democrat.
You can't tell them to get out and then in a presidential cycle, tell them that they have an obligation to vote for you. We're either a team or we're not. And at the end of the day, we all need each other, to our chagrin and to our disagreement. And to our, great inconvenience, all of us have to accept the reality that we need each other, whether we like it or not. And you can't tell people to leave when you need them. At the end of the day, and guess what? Look at the point that we're at right now. Hopefully in November, we're going to be winning. Democrats are going to be winning a majority that is healthy and sizable. But if you look at this present moment, the House majority, both last cycle and this cycle, was a difference of 4 to 5 seats. Okay? There are now going to be 4 to 5 Democratic socialists serving in the next term. So if you tell us to go, that we can't associate with the Democratic Party, all of a sudden, that's your majority right there. Mm-hmm. So whether we like it or not, we need one another. We shouldn't be talking about going our separate ways because we can't survive without a majority, and that goes in both directions. We're gonna have to figure it out, frankly. That I think is the first piece of it. And secondly, I think, when I first arrived to the House, it was,
This is AOC speaking on an iHeartRadio show with Santita Jackson.
I was met with a tremendously hostile environment. And it was obviously very clear that we were not welcome there. And they wanted to make us all, they want to make me a one-term congresswoman. They wanted to make many others, I think, a one-term congresswoman, whether that's Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, or whomever. But I think that, the attitude that I have taken to this over time is that on our end, when this hostility comes towards us, we can respond with hostility in kind. We can respond with defensiveness. But I think what I have learned over time is that I just have responded with, okay, watch us work. Watch us work. And we'll go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 12. And people can go crying and be upset, but we'll just keep growing. And
the thing is, if the Democrats, right-wing Democrats, centrist Democrat, corporate Democrats, didn't lie every fucking 4 years, like they were on board with workers' rights, a bold agenda that moves the needle in the appropriate direction for Medicare for all, for example. If they didn't actually take on that shine of the policies being advanced by Democratic Socialists, which on its face, at least for the time being, is social democracy, let's be real, okay, then so many voters would not have an appetite for this. So many Democratic Party voters who go, wait a minute, what do you mean free college? We don't want that. I'm a Democrat. I hate that, right? The problem is they have lied for years and years and made it seem as though this is what they want. But when they're governing, they govern differently. So now there are people who are invested in advancing this agenda. And now they're winning.
Of America's New York City chapter, Gustavo Gordillo and Grace Mauser. Thank you so much for being here. So let's start first, major wins this week for the organization. I want to start with the interview you actually recently did, Gustavo, and you said that after the DSA endorsed then candidate Zohran Mamdani in October 2024, DSA membership has more than doubled, growing from 5,900 members to 14,000 members. Did your organization see membership grow again after this most recent primary?
Yes, actually, nationally, we've seen thousands of new members pretty much overnight. And in New York City, we're very close to 15,000. We think we'll hit that probably this weekend. So, we've had hundreds of new people who are energized by these races. I think these big wins act as moments of political awakening. That was my experience when I first got involved in a race, which was actually Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign, and just seeing that as an ordinary person, you can actually have an impact in the political system, I think is really transformative.
So 7 of the 8 candidates the DSA endorsed won their primary races this week. Some of these candidates upseated long-term incumbents like Congressman Adriano Espaillat. And some of the concern I've heard is about unseating incumbents that have some sort of level of power. Like Espaillat, he did chair the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I guess why target members that maybe are in leadership positions?
Quickly, it was actually 9 out of 10 races, so slightly better odds. Yes. But the reason we chose to run in the races we did is because we look at data of past voting history. We look at where members are. We look at where progressive and socialist voters are. But we also think about, are the incumbents that we're running against fighters? They will say out of one side of their mouth that they're running on their record, but out of the other side of their mouth, they'll say that they can't deliver certain things. They can't deliver health care. They can't deliver protections for immigrant communities because their hands are tied. Both can't be true, right? You either are delivering or you're not. And for us, they aren't. And it's because they're not organizing in office, they're not fighting hard enough in office, and they're not sticking to their promises. So we want to replace them with people who maybe on paper have some similar ideas, but are actually going to stick to those ideas, take it a step further, and not only empower themselves in office, but empower their communities and build organizations outside of the halls of power.
It often seems like, though, that the DSA tends to target Democrats maybe a little bit more than Republicans. Are there any seats that you guys are looking to flip here when it comes to Republicans?
In the past, we haven't really run in Republican-held districts. I think it's something that we should look at in the future because ultimately we are aligned with the broader Democratic Party that we need to be fighting the Trump agenda. We want, we ran these campaigns on specifically fighting the deportation machine, abolishing ICE, combating, the wars that Trump is getting the country involved in, fighting funding for Israel. So, these are all broadly defensive fights against the far right. So I do think it's something we have to look at in the future, but so far we've mostly focused on Democratic primaries.
Now, there was one DSA candidate that lost on primary night, the 9 out of the 10, the 1 of the 10, Conrad Blackburn, who is challenging incumbent State Assemblyman Jordan Wright. But there could still be, I think, as many as 16 Democratic Socialists in the state legislature next year. And Grace, I read an interview you recently did as well, talking about how you had a conversation and the DSA had a conversation with Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie about some of the concerns challenging incumbents. Explain more about that conversation.
Yeah, it, I think, was a very productive conversation. We were meeting with him to discuss our Tax the Rich campaign, in which I think Speaker Hastie was was mostly on our side and wanted to make sure that New York City wasn't in a deficit, and also is interested, I think, in the short term and medium term in raising taxes. But Speaker Hastie is also very protective of members of his caucus, which makes a lot of sense, and asks that we stop challenging incumbents, which is not something we can do. That's really a core piece of our strategy on how we grow. We can't just sit around and wait for open seats and run for those, although we've certainly had some success, including this year, doing that. But we have to challenge incumbents. We know we'll have the opportunity to do that every 2 years. And it sends a stronger signal when you take out an incumbent versus winning an open seat. So there's a lot of reasons we have to do that, and we always strive to be honest about our strategy and our dealings, and we were honest with the speaker as well.
Do you think having more Democratic Socialists in the state legislature, do you think that Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, should he continue to be Assembly Speaker?
In the past, our electeds have voted for him, and I think we saw him be an ally in the fight to tax the rich. And I think that we want him to continue to fight to tax the rich and to support an economic agenda for the working class. So I think, you know, there's a lot that he can do to earn their votes again.
One of the things I also read that the DSA was sort of putting Governor Hochul on notice as well, saying that this is a sign maybe that she should maybe bend a little bit more next year when it comes to Mamdani's priorities, like taxing the rich. Is this one of the reasons why you guys wanted to increase the number of DSA members in the state legislature?
Absolutely. I mean, the governor, over the course of the winter and spring, bragged that she was not susceptible to voter input or the desires of her constituents, which I think she interpreted, or she was trying to project strength. To me, it read more as petulance and like a willful obstinance of against New Yorkers and what New Yorkers were demanding. And I think the Tuesday results show strongly that if she doesn't come around, if she doesn't start playing ball with the New Yorkers, socialists, progressives, a broad coalition of people who are demanding.
It's so. This is an interesting predicament because for Kathy Hochul, she will be under attack for any cooperation with the DSA by moderate and right-wing forces. So she's in a dire situation now that this momentum is growing, especially in her state. So she also needs to get off the fence. She has to lean into the growing momentum that DSA represents in her own state, or else she's cooked. And she might be cooked regardless.
That the rich be taxed in order to fund a state and government that works for working class people, then she may not be long for the office.
Now,
I don't understand Hochul's approach from a political perspective. Taxing the rich is popular even among independents and some Republicans. She thinks this will hurt her in the governor's race, but I just don't see that happening. What do you mean? It's because she's beholden to those very same corporate interests. That's it. Okay? That's it. That's literally it. She has to serve the actual masters here. That's the only reason why she's not fucking leaning into this populist messaging. Yeah, it's not the real base. Elections at that level are not won by actual voters. It's won because people don't want to vote for the Republican. And in the absence of real alternatives, right, because she doesn't have any, it's over for her. I mean, it's not like the state is not going to vote for a Republican. She knows that. So she's trying to manage these two different coalitions. Voters on the one hand, which she obviously cares about, but not that much because it's a lock. It's a guarantee after the primary. And the coalition of business owners and corporate interests that will actively undermine her if she doesn't lean into their needs.
I guess when people have been watching the rise of democratic socialism, I think people like you too have been seeing this rise go on for the past few years. But for some people, I think this really started appearing in their minds when Mayor Mamdani was elected. So I guess hearing from you guys in just a few sentences, which I know is always hard, but help explain what democratic socialism is and what the mission is here in New York City.
Sure. At the core of it, we think that we have democracy at the ballot box where people go to vote, every year, every 4 years. But that democracy doesn't always extend into the economy, into people's daily lives, into the workplace where, bosses have control over the most important decisions of our lives as workers. And we want to put power in the hands of workers. And we want to do that through fighting for transformative reforms, like building affordable housing, making housing a human right, Medicare for all. We think that the far right, the neoliberals, have created an idea that the government can only be an imposition, and we think that collecting our resources actually can be a tool that the government can improve people's lives. I think that the mayoral administration has really been demonstrating that these past 6 months.
Some have accused the DSA of what's known as a dirty break strategy, using the Democratic Party ballot line to advance socialist candidates with the ultimate goal of building up enough infrastructure to break away from the Democratic Party eventually. Is that how you both see this mission?
I think we are playing the game with the rules that have been set out. We have a primary system. We're running in those primary systems. Voters are reflecting their preferences in the election system that we didn't design. It was given to us. So people who claim that we're playing unfair, I think, are just being sore losers, honestly. They're saying...
Got him. Yeah. I think one thing that's lost here, one message that gets kind of lost in translation here, is that a lot of these right-wing Democrats in positions of power, these right-wing electeds, they're actually mad at the base, right? They're mad at the base. They're mad at democracy. They're mad at their own voters. But they can't run around and be like, my fucking voters are stupid for voting for these pie-in-the-sky ideas, like this high-minded idealism. How dare they go and vote for these democratic socialists? How dare they not vote for us? We're the moderates. We're the reasonable party here. What the hell's wrong with you? Why don't you want to love a pro-corporate agenda that places the interests of corporations over your interests? They can't say that. So they try to punish the leaders, the elected representatives, the outspoken media figures of this movement. That's it. I've seen this with the whole disciplining operation around Israel, right? Like they recognize that the overwhelming majority of their voters actually don't fuck with Israel anymore, but they can't openly say that. So they have to just yell at people who are outspoken critics of the state and consistently lie about them and manufacture outrage about them to engage in this disciplining operation, to punish someone, anyone, with the hopes that others will shy away, from critiquing Israel. It's just one example. Centrist Democrats who've done nothing but vote scold, belittle, and condescend, and refuse to stop backing genocide. I need you to find an army of highly motivated young volunteers who will door knock for capitalism and Israel's right to snuff out children in tents. Brilliant idea, Van, says Adam Johnson. Here is my goat.
If students can do that in 1970, now if students can do that in 1960, if students can do that in 1970, if students can do that in 1985 and 86, in 1993, when we have the United States government building a death camp, a concentration camp for black people who have done nothing wrong but get sick and want justice. That's all they've done wrong. If we can't close that death camp, if this generation cannot prevent another Japanese American internment in our lifetime, we should all get haircuts and go get regular jobs and give it up.
You know what he did? Exactly that. He literally got a haircut and got a job. It's ironic that he was just calling out his next shot. Anyway, Ta-Nehisi Coates speaks on Daria Lisa and James Carville's unbelievably racist approach to Daria Lisa. Let's take a look.
Congressional Democrats should seat her as a member of the Democratic Party. You can't kick her out of Congress.
Is there a better video clip of this? This is crazy.
Your reaction to that?
There's got to be a better clip of Iman's stream. No, I'm pretty sure there is actually. Hold on. I think I have it here somewhere. Yep, there it is.
For Israel and American foreign policy towards Israel. Let me play for you what Democratic strategist James Carville had to say and get your thoughts to it about the candidates here in New York City. Take a listen.
Democratic caucus. And I really don't want to be in the same party she's in.
Your reaction to that, Ta-Nehisi?
Wow. You do this to me every time I come on an interview. Like something that leaves me completely speechless. Because look, the problem with that is, like, look, whatever you think of future Congresswoman Chevalier, she represents actual voters. Okay, she represents actual voters. And what James Carville is saying is that those voters should be disenfranchised. That he is so disgusted with whatever opinion she has that those voters should be disenfranchised. And I don't get it, man. I don't like, that is a district filled with black and brown people. They made their choice and he just doesn't respect it. You know what I mean? Which to me says, not so much, it's not so much a statement on Palestinians. It's not so much a statement on Israelis. It's not so much a statement on, anything that future Congresswoman Chevalier has said. It's a statement on how he feels about black and brown people. And the fact that they are useful to him when they vote the way that he agrees with.
Cooked.
When they don't, kick them out the party. They don't deserve representation. I'm trying not to say Jimmy for life. It's not good. It's not good, Eamon. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good for democracy. Let me, if I can, maybe close out by asking you to kind
Ta-Nehisi Cooks, get it
give
right.
us a gut check whether this is more than just a vibe
He does.
check, right?
Coats,
I think there,
but he doesn't sugarcoat. He cooks.
would be some critics who will say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, not that the central thesis of why Kamala Harris lost the campaign was because about Gaza, but Gaza was certainly a factor in the reason why she lost. What would you say to critics who say it was actually about inflation, it was about economics, it was about a lot of other things? Gaza was not something that pollsters came up with, pundits thought was an issue, and it might not be an issue going forward, that the party's fixation on this right now, as some Democrats are warning, is misguided.
Yeah, I can't really tell you that that's why she lost. I don't have, that data. I don't have those sorts of numbers. But I mean, to me, look, I know the headline was what the headline was, but I was less interested in that than asking the question of whether, in fact, someone who would not have been in that.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, not a numbers guy. Okay, he said, "I'm not numbers guy." You got Patrick Bet-David for that. You can ask him about the number. I know you really like the number. I'm not a numbers guy.
Place if it was not for the Black freedom struggle. And I think this is actually not just true of Kamala Harris anymore, but in true of the Democratic Party itself, that it owes its very present existence to the Black freedom struggle. Is it actually honoring the core morality and principles of that struggle? And are we settling for an interpretation that says human rights, civil rights for certain people and screw everybody else? Or was this supposed to be about something bigger? Was it, did human actually mean human? And my argument is, in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, in the words of Coretta Scott King, in the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, in the words of Martin Luther King, it was always supposed to be bigger. If this is just interest group politics, I mean, I don't know what that is. Then I don't have a place in that party, and I don't have a place in that coalition myself.
Yeah. He's so good, man. Hasanabi mogged by PD John. PD JD Pon John. Speaks Chinese, marries Iranian, apologizes for the existence of Taiwan, a true soldier of the axis of resistance. John Cena with his Iranian wife visiting Iran's Shiraz was not on my bingo card. It was on mine. This is who he has always been. Okay? It's John Cena, not John Zena. Okay? Get it right. John Cena, more like John China, more like People's Republic of China. Okay? 谢谢. 谢谢, Lao Ben. What? Answer me. What happened to that fashion photo shoot you did? Did it ever come out? Was it a famous fashion magazine? Answer me. Answer me. Yes, it was Dazed. Dazed Middle East. Dazed MENA. Centrist Dems are rolling over in the first year is why there's so much voter apathy? Yes. What is... Hey, Kim Paxton, that's not your wife? Yo, can a chopped unk score a little side? Why'd you shock your dog? Because I love doing it. It's my favorite thing to do. That's why I did it. Can a chopped huzz get a little bit of huzz on the side? You know what I mean? Let him riz, bro. He's ugly as sin. Let him riz. Hard to think of a worse message for Dems right now than this bag of bones preening for his legacy by projecting a diluted fantasy discourse on a public opinion. I don't want to even get into that. Ben Jordan gave you a shout out for you defending his name last August. I sent his vid against being pro-Israel. Yeah, we'll do that in a second.
Oh, the only way socialism could win is
genuinely, what was the controversy with your dog, bro? People hallucinated an alternative reality where I'm abusing my dog that I love more than most human beings. That's it. And it was all the rage for the longest time. And nowadays, most people don't give a shit one way or another. But there are still right-wing weirdos who will come in here to be like, you're a dog abuser, you're shocking your dog. It doesn't really matter. It's utterly irrelevant. Sure, yeah, I love shocking my dog. See? There it is.
they're cheating. But we're not cheating. We're playing the game exactly as it was laid out to us. And frankly, in a lot of ways, the rules are unfair. The democratic system is not really that democratic. There's a lot of critiques I have, but we're doing what they have asked us to do. But then when we win, they say, oh, no, not like that. So really, I think they're being a bit of a sore loser when they say things like that.
So do you feel like the Democratic Socialists are never going to break off from the Democratic Party? They're always going to be maybe part of this bigger tent?
Yeah, it's hard to say what will happen for sure. You know, there's always a possibility that we are kicked out at some point, given how some of the rhetoric has been. There is a possibility where maybe if the democratic system is reformed and we have more parties like countries in Europe or Latin America, there might be room for that. But as it is right now, we know that the way to build power for our goals is to run as Democrats, or sometimes maybe even as independents, depending on where in the country we're looking, and to work with the people who are interested in achieving the same goals as us. Frequently, those are Democrats, not always, but we're working within the system we have now to get as far as we can.
Now, at one of the primary watch parties, there were chants when House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries came on TV screens.
Oh, God, they love the optics. Can you invite... This person is the #1 Dean Withers fan, by the way. Can you invite Dean on the stream and talk about Jubilee and also make him a socialist? Can you invite Dean Withers on stream to talk about Jubilee and also make him join the DSA? Can you invite Dean Withers on stream to talk about Jubilee and also make him a socialist? Sure. I will do it. I will invite Dean Withers on stream and make him a socialist for you, chatter. Okay?
We're next. And Gustav, I think you posted on social media saying that Councilman Chiase would have beaten Jeffries. Now, I know he didn't run against Jeffries this year. Do you guys plan to run a candidate against Jeffries in 2 years?
Well, the thing about 2028 is that I think it's pretty likely that the congressional districts, the districts in New York, will be redrawn, and so it's really difficult to strategize.
Yeah, not if Hakeem has anything to say about that. I don't. So here's the thing, okay? This is a huge, huge deal. Rewriting the New York congressional districts, redrawing the New York congressional districts is an absolute necessity, in my opinion. Okay, there are a lot of what is it called? Like opportunity districts, right? That's what it's called, like black opportunity districts that need to, in my opinion, get chopped around so that we can draw up more numbers for Congress. Okay, we can draw up more numbers. There are a lot of comfortable districts, and the thing is, a lot of the establishment Democrats that sit on those districts don't want those districts to be redrawn because they like the safe districts that they're in, and they've been sitting on those safe districts for decades. Okay, so unfortunately, while there is a lot of opportunity here to cut these districts into numerous safe blue districts, there's going to be a lot of resistance from congressional Democrats that don't want their districts to be chopped down at all. Yeah, right now New York is 19D, 7R. We could get down to 3 Republicans with little effort and 1 to 2 Republicans with some work. The people that are standing in opposition to that, unfortunately, are those who sit in comfortable blue districts, though, and they don't want their districts to lower their margin of victory. They also probably are worried about DSA candidates coming in and taking them out. It's not like those districts wouldn't be safe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those districts would still be safe. It would go from 80-20 to like 65-35, but they're more so worried, I think, about like what these new districts would look like as far as because look, let's be real, okay? A lot of those districts are super safe districts because of the population density of black voters, okay? That's why they're black opportunity districts, right? And moving black voters from one district to the next with this redistricting scheme would make more Democratic districts, right? But that would also threaten establishment Democrats that sit on these districts, especially because if there are less black opportunity districts, for example, they'll make the argument that these districts will be less safe and that Republicans could potentially win, which is bullshit. Obviously, that's not the case. But they could technically lose to Democratic Socialists. And if your job relies on the machine that you've built there, yeah, exactly. They've built their machines there, chopping it up, leaves them with a broken machine and leaves them vulnerable to primaries. It levels the playing field. So it's really good for us, and it's really good for the broader Democratic Party in its efforts to fight back against the Republican redistricting initiatives. It would literally end up giving black people more opportunities, right? It would literally end up giving more black voter participation, right? But the problem is a lot of the establishment Democrats are, as far as I understand, very shy about this, right? They don't want to do it because it threatens their comfortable seats. So who knows what will happen?
That far in advance, not knowing really what the districts are going to look like. But what I'll say about the leaders of the Democratic Party, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, is that I'm not sure that they're as in touch with the voters of that they represent.
Yeah, there's no mystery. There is no mystery. What is the mystery of Dem authorities and operatives not wanting to lose power, post, and influence of the DSA in this case? The Dem and DSA ideology is secondary to their calculations. They just want to hold on to their positions. Exactly. It's the same reason why so many centrist Democrats are fucking chirping, like consultants are chirping on the timeline about the growth of DSA and how bad it is. Oh my God, this guy's losing his fucking mind. Look at this.
Damn, this guy's good.